left. Actually got the ball. Good evening, my fellow Spurs fans all across the world, and thank you for tuning in here at the Irish HOTSPUR as we build up to Rangers v Tottenham, which is being dubbed the Battle of Britain, and it's a vital game for both teams' hopes in terms of getting out inside the top 8. So it is a huge European night. The pressure is on Tottenham Hotspur right now to perform. Let's see how we get on. As usual, we bring you a stellar panel to preview today's game and all the questions that I've conjured up in the meantime. We'll start with Jack. How are you, man?
Doing all right, Dave. Looking forward to having a nice little coffee, nice little chat with you guys ahead of this game. Had a little Spurs workout earlier, trying to do my best Solanke impersonations as I'm on the treadmill this winter season. And yeah, looking forward to another battle. We were actually talking about a history battle of Britain just earlier before you joined us at the back end, Dave. So maybe this one could be an epic one for Spurs. And just want to see a win, man. Just want to see a win.
I think that's what we're all praying for, some sort of Christmas miracle tonight just to see a win. It is going to be tasty. We'll get into it, you know. Fraser Forster's connection to Celtics, Ange Postecoglou's, Archie Gray's family are big Celtic fans. Going to be a lot of needle in this one. But Dermot, how are you, my man? How are you keeping you pumped up for tonight?
Yeah, fine. Tottenham are playing some team in Glasgow. I don't know who they are. I refuse to name them. And they're not the only proper team in Glasgow is Celtic, and we all know that. So that other team in Glasgow are just a little team that don't belong in anything. So Tottenham going to go up there. They're going to win. It's not the Battle of Britain. It's the Battle of the Irish. We're going to go up there and show them that British club, what the Irish are made of, what the mighty Spurs are made of. And we're going to go over there. We're going to take over their little shitty stadium, which they think is great. It's not. And we're going to win. I suppose we're going to get 3 points. We're going to go back into the top 8 and everyone's going to be loving Ange again. Like, I've never stopped believing in Ange we trust. We never stop. Get behind Ange.
He's a dead man walking at the minute in terms of the fan base we'll speak about. He's got 2 big cup games coming up tonight and Wednesday night next week. I think are absolutely crucial. I don't know how you managed to do it. Somehow you brought Ireland into it, even though nothing to do with it tonight. It's all about Tottenham. But Soren, you know, how are you today, my man? Taking your time away from getting the turkeys ready for Christmas. How are you keeping?
Not too bad. We're on the painkillers tonight. Little accident at work, but just need some loving from the team tonight, don't we? And after that intro from Damon, where do we go? You know, I'm not gonna say. I mean, I am more of a Celtic fan than a Rangers fan, so that's fine. But we can't lose tonight. Please, God, no. Please, God, no.
It'll be a disaster if we lose tonight. I think, you know, the fans are starting to slowly turn on Ange Postecoglou. I'd say it's probably 60-50 in his favour. I think, you know, you don't win tonight. I think it's causing more sort of pressure.
How do we get a 60-50 split?
It's just what I see around the place. I made it up, but look, that's where I see it.
60-50. Not 60-40 then.
Oh, yeah, 60-40. Sorry, lad. Sorry, 60-40.
Oh, don't make me laugh. Don't make me laugh.
I failed maths in school. I apologize. But look, let's welcome some people at home. Tell everything you need to know, and then let's crack into it. But guys, make sure you, get some jokes in there for Soren. Keep him smiling throughout this. He had an accident in work today. Mick Hermanot, good evening, Jack and Dave. Good to see you, Mick. Hopefully you're keeping well and pumped up for tonight. Mungie, 32. Evening all. Good evening to you, lad. We've got Derek Hilcherson in the house. Del Boy, big up Dave and Jack in Big Ange. I do not trust. Well, look, you know, people are more than entitled to their opinion. Let's see how we get on today, my man. We have Sham Tam. Good evening, Jack and Dave. Hope you're both well. Not very confident with this game or any other game these days, but still watch and hope. Come on, you Spurs. Look, one thing is they're going to be well up for this game tonight. You know, their fans with that Celtic connection running throughout that Tottenham team, their fans are going to be well on that tonight. So it's going to be a hostile atmosphere. Big up Spurs GCTV. Good evening, Jeds. It's game day. Let's go. Come on, you Spurs. That is, my man. Look, we get excited all just to be hurt again. Hopefully, you know, we could be singing tonight. Chris Antonio, Chelsea are beating Atletico Astana, so it's a must-win game. We have Ross Parsons. Evening, guys. Come on, you Spurs. Big up, Ribsy. Good evening. Good to see you, man. How's your build up to the Christmas goal?
Big up, Ribsy.
We are going to smash Rangers. We've got effing hell. Oi, lads. PH family in the house is big up. Dave, Jack, and Chat. Come on, you Spurs. We also have Cantab Battle of Britain. Let's go. Come on, you Spurs. Huge game tonight. Dermotron has also gifted out 5 HOTSPUR memberships. Jack, who have they gone to?
Thank you very much, Dermo. Gift in season, very festive one. Moss Chops, V Scarred. Big up to V Scarred. Big up to Moss Chops. Been very kind to us recently. BSD29, Jaria Jala, great name. And then Side Dancer, THFC. Big up to you guys. And thank you so much for watching the channel. And hopefully you guys make a debut sometime on the fan show. And really appreciate it, Dermot John. And V Scarred and Moss Chops, I know, have been with us for a bit now. So hopefully we can see them make a debut or something, or send in a fan cam, whatever it might be.
And guys, make sure you thank Dermo as well in the chat for the generosity. We put out a lot of members-only content. We try and do as much as we can for our members. So make sure you check it out. And look, if you enjoy it, feel free to continue on the membership. But big up Dermatron. We also have Matt Byam in the house. Big up, Matt. He says, hey, Big Dave and Jack, praying for the result we need tonight. Come on, you Spurs. We're all praying, Matty Boy. We are all praying tonight. I lit a candle earlier on. Queen Ellie is in the house. Says, what's in store for Spurs diehards tonight? Who knows? We are like chalk and cheese. No consistency, lads. Absolutely none whatsoever, Ellie. But sometime your luck has to change. Sometime that victory will come. It could propel you on to greater things. Hopefully tonight is the night, Ellie. We have Wayne Bonner in the house. Howdy, everyone. Hope you're all well. Going to be fun tonight with only one recognised centre-back for the rest of the month. 5-1 Spurs. Come on, you effing Spurs. Well, look, we'll speak about that. Did Postecoglou make the right or the wrong decision? And was it a sign of a man under pressure? But big up, Wayno. All reports there saying that it's going to be Radu Dragosin and Archie Gray as your centre-back partnership, which we'll get stuck into because I want to know why he doesn't play Alfie Dorrington. He's older than Archie Gray and he's a natural centre-back. Ross Parsons says, thank you to the person who gifted me the membership. I didn't realise that I was gifted one at the time, so I'm thanking you now. I effing love this channel. Big up, Ross. Really appreciate it. For the very, very kind words, my man. Joe says, good. God save the king. We've got Tyler in the house. Yeah, that's going to age badly, Dermot, isn't it? We have Danny Darko. Come on, you Spurs. Big up, lads and ladies. And we've got John O71. Big up, Jack, Dave, and the panel. Very nervous about this game. Look, John, I think we're all nervous, right? Despite everyone's opinions on Ange Postecoglou fighting over. One thing I think we can all agree on, my man, is that, we need to get the victory tonight. We have to get the victory tonight. And no one wants to lose to Rangers. It's the Battle of Britain. No one wants them because they'll rub it in. We all know that. So we definitely want that victory tonight. Big up George Milton as well. Recent poll of about 5,000 Spurs fans put Ange's approval rating at 87%. But Levy would ruin himself by letting Ange go now. Interesting analysis there. Big up George Milton. Look, for me, I think I'm happy to stick with Ange, but I do have a question there about how important these next two cup games are in terms of his future at Tottenham Hotspur, because one thing I know is the Spurs fan base do not like losing cup games, and once they start going, Daniel Levy tends to listen regardless, but he knows what's coming his way regardless anyway, to be quite frank. George, there's already been protests and that organised already. Big up Paulio125. Big up, lads. Come on, you Spurs. Good to see you. And then Phil Coy's in the house as well. Says, these games are all 6 pointers for Ange right now. Big up to you all. Come on, you Spurs. Big up, Phil. Good to see you, my man. Hopefully you're keeping well. How's married life treating you? We also have Golderson in the house. I'm with Dermo for a crazy prediction today. 6-1 sounds good. We have Dawson. By the end of the night, we could be the meme of English football if we don't win this game. Hopefully, our players turn up tonight. Come on, you Spurs. They need to. You're absolutely spot on. Big up Lily White India. Big up, boys. Do you reckon Ange will be playing Biss at 8 or more like a double pivot? I would say more like a double pivot, to be honest with you, rather than at number 8. But look, let's see how he gets on tonight. We have future bright, future Lily White. Come on, you Spurs. Boys, not confident about tonight at all. Sorry, come on, you Spurs. I don't think anybody is confident tonight. You can never be too confident being a Spurs fan, to be quite frank. But, nonetheless, the expectations are still there, and hopefully the team can deliver. Big up, Neil G. Good to see you as well. Hopefully you're keeping well, along with Paddy Higgins as well. Evening all. Come on, you Spurs. Big up, Paddy. Good to see you, my man. So everything everybody needs to know, of course, we are playing at the Ibrox Stadium tonight. 8 p.m. kickoff. Referee is Sandro Scharer of Switzerland. In the VR room, it's Fedai San of Switzerland. If you want to watch the game tonight, it is on TNT Sport in the UK and Ireland. In the USA, it's on Paramount Plus, and in Australia is on Stan Sports. And then nothing. The list that nobody wants to see is the sheer length of players out for Tottenham Hotspur tonight. Of course, Mickey van de Ven, now no definite time frame put out, but I think rumours are suggesting 2 to 3 weeks now, could be up to 6 games that he's set to miss over this period, which is not good. Udabur still out, Richarlison still out long-term, Ben Davies, Mikey Moore, Bentancur, Vicario, Romero, of course, re-injured his foot in the Chelsea game. Rumours is he's out for 6 weeks. I think it was an Argentinian journalist that leaked that, and apparently he's very, very reputable. Jed Spence and Reguilon, of course, ineligible, not registered in the European squad, so cannot play tonight. For Rangers, Danilo and Hadji, not registered in the European squad, can't play. Lawrence and Cortez is out with a knock. Matondo is out with a hamstring, and Casemiro is out with his knee. So that is all the team news for tonight's game. Doesn't really instill any more confidence in anybody I know. But look, that's the reality of the situation, and it's one that we've got to try and persevere through. So let's get stuck into it. Jack, we'll start with you, my man. Spurs are currently in 9th place in the Europa League group stage, with Rangers occupying the final automatic qualification spot in 8th. We're only separated by a goal difference. This is Spurs' final Europa League match until January 22nd, and a win tonight would push us back inside the top 8, leaving us with 2 more games to play, which, if won, would allow us to avoid that 2-legged playoff in February, which we want to. The more games, the harder it becomes, and the more risk of injuries. So, with a spot in the last 16 sort of at stake tonight, because tonight is where you will start seeing them teams sort of separate. How critical is tonight's match against Rangers for Spurs' European campaign? Can we afford to drop points, or is this a must-win tonight?
I think it is must win. I mean, I'm even getting that vibe from some of the Champions League games, right? I think, Real Madrid were under a bit of pressure to have to win their game. I think as well, I saw that PSG were under a bit of pressure to have to win theirs, and they needed to step up. And you could kind of even see the nervousness in the players. This new format does sort of, I think, breed maybe a false sense of security. It felt like we did have that sort of false sense of security maybe in the beginning when we got a couple of wins. And then we sort of thought, oh, all we need is just one more. And then that just kept being delayed and delayed and delayed. And now we're kind of a little bit desperate here. And also now that we have all these injuries, going away from home, middle of the winter, right before the festive period up in Scotland, where it's going to be very cold. And now it doesn't look like maybe the best time to sort of be desperate for a win. So yeah, Dave, it's going to be really, really tough, but we have to get it done tonight some way, somehow. Have to find a way to get over the line and put away the chances that we'll probably get. That's just the biggest thing. Is for me, we just don't put away our opportunities when we're gifted them, or when we even earned those opportunities. We just don't take them, and we need to tonight. And it's an absolute must win. You do not want to go into that January period at all uncertain, because, like I said, even some of the biggest teams in European football and have already started to show signs of nervousness about maybe not qualifying.
No, 100%. And, tonight's game, when you look at the other teams above us, we're still clinging on there. But if we don't win tonight, you're allowing them to sort of start separating, making that gap. And we've got a very tricky game coming up against Hoffenheim on the 22nd January away from home. That's not going to be an easy night. I'd argue it's probably going to be tougher than tonight's game. We're not traveling too far. Yes, it's going to be hostile, but nothing that these players shouldn't be used to by now anyway. So I think it is a must-win game. But I also think it's a must-win game in terms of perception for Postecoglou. If he can win tonight, we're inside the top 8, and we beat Man United next week. I think then all of a sudden Spurs fans looking at it and go, well, we're still in the cup competitions. We're looking good. And I think it gets Postecoglou to January. I think if you don't win tonight, I think it puts more pressure on the Southampton game, and especially United game just before Christmas, which nobody wants. So I do think it's very, very important to sort of get that win tonight, because you just know it. Everyone will start looking at it and go, Rangers are better than Spurs, this, that, and the other. It's a joke. So we really do need that win in terms of optics tonight. Just want to welcome in Alan Leslie. Says, evening, guys. Heading into town to meet up with the rest of Glasgow Spurs for drinks in the pub. 2-0. Come on, you Spurs. Well, I hope for your sake we get that win, my man, especially if you're living up in and around that area. Big up Chance and Kuba as well. Good evening. Come on, you Spurs, and Peter Disney. Another defeat coming with us. Billy High and no defending from set pieces. Look, the good thing is, well, not the good thing. Rangers have a very good set piece taker in terms of Tavernier. He's absolutely brilliant, but they're actually also useless at defending set pieces this season, which could play in our hands tonight. Peter Disney, especially if Radu Dragusin wants to go and read the flight of the ball, there could be one there for him tonight. Big up Ian Ferguson. Good to see you. It's got to be a cold night in Glasgow. It's going to be absolutely freezing up there. Scotland tends to be colder than everywhere else. It's not going to be a nice evening up there whatsoever, my man. So anyone that is going, make sure you wrap up warm, or definitely have a few beers into the system so you don't feel the cold. We'll head down to you, Soren. Soren, given Postecoglou's connection to Celtic, Archie Gray comes from a huge Celtic family, and Fraser Forrester spent, I think, 4 to 5 years at Celtic as well. Is my mic on? Still there?
No.
Still there. And Fraser Forrester spent 4 or 5 years there as well. The media are sort of predicting it's going to be a very fiery, hot, red-hot atmosphere for Tottenham Hotspur tonight. We struggled with the intense environment in Istanbul against Galatasaray, and we couldn't really handle the pressure that night. What's the best strategy for Spurs to silence the home crowd and gain the upper hand in such an intense setting like again tonight? Because we have to learn our lessons.
Getting a goal maybe too early on, and that should quite. I mean, let's look at it two ways. Playing Rangers at home and playing in Istanbul is very, very different. That team was a far better team than Rangers on paper are, for sure. You know, it's a better, more advanced team. Playing Rangers, look, if you listen to everybody, Scotland's a pub team. You know, we should be winning this match 7-8-0 tonight. We know we're not gonna. I think we've just got to go in there and hopefully believe. The team's got to, they've got to start showing us what they're made of. Yeah, we're injury ridden with, a couple of suspensions, couple of injuries, but there's no excuses tonight. There is no excuses. If we cannot go up there and beat that Rangers team, then we've got to kind of give up hope. I mean, the worst thing will be tonight if we go up there and we lose, but we play bad. If we lose and we've played well and, there's something's gone against us or there's more injuries, then you kind of take it. But we can't take the shit we've been watching over the last few weeks. It's been pretty poor, hasn't it? And these players have got to step up. They've got to step up tonight. There is no excuse against Rangers. We keep saying, Scotland's a two-team league, so and they're not good enough to get into our Premiership. I mean, it's going to be a tough game. I know it's going to be a tough game, and I see hopefully maybe a 2-3-1, something like that. But we've got to go up there, and we have got to win. If a draw's not good enough, loss is unacceptable. It's got to be a win. Anything less than the noise is going to get noisier, innit?
No, 100%. And look, I do want to hold them thoughts because I do want to come back to you in just a moment about where you are under Ange Postecoglou. It's been a few weeks since sort of we discussed all that. But, just on tonight's game, I think with it being the hostile atmosphere, I think it's very important we try to start nice and fast, nice and quick, get at them and try and put them under early pressure. And if we can, try and score that early goal and actually turn the pressure around on Rangers. They're sitting third in the SPFL behind Aberdeen. Yeah, they're getting it together a bit lately, but they're not as strong as they once were. Don't get me wrong, they've had a good European campaign and on their night can beat anybody, especially if you don't like the cold weather and you're not up for the game up there. However, for me, I've seen a repetitive team over the last 4 games. You take yourself back to the Chelsea game at the weekend. Second half, we died off. You go back to the game before that. So we died off against Chelsea. We died off against Bournemouth in the second half. Couldn't string 2 passes together. Same with Fulham, and also against Roma as well. There's a recurrent theme, and I do think I think it's injuries catching up on us, fatigue to a large degree, and it's coming back to affect us. So for me, I think the first half is really important tonight, especially when you look at the trend. We have to go out there in the first half. We have to pile on the pressure. We have to create chances, but most importantly, we have to take the chances. Against Fulham in the first half, Son had 2 massive chances, squandered them. So come later on in the game when you don't have that energy, you're being absolutely bit on the ass. Same with Roma late in the game. We had chances before that to put them away. We didn't. We allowed them to stay in it right up until the death. Eventually, our fatigue cost us. Bournemouth as well. Once we the silly switch off, couldn't get it going in the second half whatsoever. And again, against Chelsea, lapses in concentration, stupid mistakes, underhit passes, some would argue fatigue. Again, second half against Chelsea, come back to bite us. So for me, tonight, if we are dealing with a fatigue squad, if you do have a young squad on the bench, or young options off the bench, you can't keep using that excuse. You just got to adapt your game plan. You got to go hell for leather. You got to go for the throat for the first 45 minutes, knowing that you're going to fatigue in the second half. Get yourself in a commanding position so that you can get these youngsters on in an environment where you're dominating the game, you're bringing them into a complete different situation rather than bringing them into a game that's on a knife's edge. No youngster wants that. So for me, tonight is all about the first half. And if we go at it in the first half, you also silence that atmosphere. Believe it or not, they will be on Fraser Forster behind the goal. I stood behind the goal when Fabianski was in goal for Swansea, ex-Arsenal goalkeeper. He got abused for 90 minutes, not just by me, by the way, but by everybody around me. Archie Gray is going to get it. He's a young 18-year-old kid tonight. He's going to hear it. He's made it no secret that his family are Celtic fans. Ange Postecoglou is going to get it tonight. They're going to pile on the pressure with chants and stuff like that. The only way of silencing that and shutting that up is going 1 or 2-0 up very, very quickly and, making them head inside for a cup of Bovril and reassess their plan for the second half. That's what we need to do tonight. I think it's a two-way thing. You silence the crowd, but also, you won't have the problem that we've suffered in the second half of games in the last 4. Dermot, anything you want to add to that, my man? Good to have you back.
Yeah, sorry, I just couldn't hear you. I couldn't hear anyone. I just had to log in and log back out again, so I do apologise. No, look, tonight is important. We start well, Dave. I was listening to what you said, and there's nothing really I can add. But tonight is important. Rangers are going to make it an environment that is going to be difficult because of the Celtic connections. Let's not kid ourselves. The Celtic Rangers connection up there. If you think North London Derby is bad, you think a Manchester Derby is bad, it is 1,000 times worse up in Glasgow. It is hatred beyond hatred. So any link to that upside of Glasgow, they are going to give it to him. And I think Ange will have the players prepared for that tonight. I think he would tell them, this is what you're going to expect. You think what you got out in Turkey was bad. You're going to get it 20 times worse. Look, we've got to start the game well. We've got to silence the crowd. And by doing that, that's scoring an early goal. And then not making stupid mistakes and conceding one. But I think the boys will do it tonight, Dave. I think they will do it, and I think they'll have the whereabouts to do it. And the likes of Fraser Forster and the experienced players are so needed tonight. They're going to have to step up and say, right, come on, lads, we can do this, and guide the likes of Archie Gray or Bergville if he starts through the game. But I think they're ready. They're going to be important tonight. But look, it's important we win tonight. We cannot lose.
Yeah,
it's a must win tonight. It really is a must win tonight.
No, I definitely agree with that. I just think, even if you draw tonight, I think it's still gonna, piss off more fans and stuff like that. To Big D's point here, Celtic and Rangers, they've tried to get into the Premier League for years. They believe they're good enough to be able to compete in there. So they're going to have a point to prove when they come up against Premier League teams. In general, they're going to be up for it tonight. And our players need to realise that, especially away from home. One thing you can maybe question, after being up for these games, you look at our intensity in away from home games, it's very poor. Are we up for the fight? Probably not. Tonight is going to be a night where they're going to have to fight. They're going to have to expect, that you're going to get tough tackles. It's going to be niggly. You have to fight and earn the right to play tonight. And hopefully they can do that. Big up the Big D. Good to see you, my man. We have Moondog in the building, says we are winning tonight. If not, Xmas is cancelled. I think many Spurs fans are starting to feel like that, my man. But I'm hanging on to the hope of a Christmas miracle. These things happen this time of the year. We've got, 3-4 games before Christmas? A nice little run. That'd be absolutely brilliant. Stranger things have happened, Moondog, but big yourself.
I don't think anyone's canceling Dave's Christmas as well, Moondog. I think Dave very much, will, pretty much stand like a force of, an immovable object when it comes to his Christmas. He's going to have a nice day off, have a roast, spend time with Emily, the family and stuff. So I think no one's stopping Dave's Christmas. No one's canceling it unless he cancels it himself.
I do love Christmas. I'm known as Mr. Claus around here. You know what I mean? I absolutely love it. I'll just cancel Spurs out my life for Christmas. That's what I'll do. We've got Kaylee Davies. Big up Kaylee Davies says, I want to see Spurs start the match with a squad on fire and being relentless. No excuses. Jack, do you agree with Kaylee Davies' sentiment here?
I mean, I think she's more or less saying something similar that you were kind of finishing off on. I think as she came in here with this one, you were saying, come out the gate strong, look to try to go up 1 goal, 2 goals ahead, kind of silence the crowd, sort of get rid of all that tension, pretty much just punch them in the mouth nice and early and give yourself that bit of confidence, give yourself that bit of assurance that, we can start off games quickly. And then this time around, instead of, like the Chelsea game where we end up sort of being our own worst enemy and not putting the team to bed and putting them away. Look to, add on a third, look to, finish off the game. And I think the Spurs team is well and capable of doing what Kaylee has said here and what you were kind of saying, Dave, of going up nice and early, sort of showing the quality, showing that the way we do play, especially in the first 30, 40-ish minutes, it really can be overwhelming for teams, and it can be very hard to not concede. And if we are lucky enough to get 1 or 2 goals, we just have to see out the win from there. But I think she more or less is saying something very similar to what you were touching on at the end there.
No, you're absolutely spot on, Kaylee. First half is important until we start getting players back. You got to go punch them in the mouth nice and early, take your chances, because realistically, some of the chances Son had against Chelsea, against Fulham, if he was on fire, took them chances, you probably put more points on the board. We're not under this sort of pressure. It's fine margins in football, really. But we got to go at them in the first half and take our opportunity, especially with the reoccurring pattern that in the second half we are fading out of games. Jerry says, game all depends on him picking the right team. Go as strong as he can and we'll be all right. Otherwise, he's putting more pressure on himself. He has to start getting results. We will get into that. Don't worry about that. K32 says, hello, Dave and Jack and everyone. Firstly, I hope there's a few Irish flags in the Spurs end. And also, sadly, I'm expecting nothing tonight. Just going to hope for performance. Come on, you Spurs. Do you know what? I think in general, there's sort of, I don't think there's too much bad blood in general between Spurs fans and Rangers fans. Gascoigne has played for both clubs, if I'm correct. I think Graham Roberts, did he play for both clubs as well?
He did. So Richard Goff did as
Richard
well.
Goff. So there's a few players. We also the Water Till Cup. We're invited to that. So I don't think there's bad blood. But if you certainly want to, if they turn it up tonight in terms of their rhetoric because of Postecoglou and Fraser Forster and that, well then, it'd be no bad way to shithouse them and pull a few flags out and really amp them up tonight. Ricky Brighton says, all right, lads, big up. We've just got to lift our chips and give it everything. Must win. Not really, in my opinion. Not more injuries, definitely. We just all need to calm down. Man City has one injury. No, look, fully understand what you're saying. But, look, it's hard right now because at the end of the day, Spurs fans just want to win trophies. We just want to win games of football. And I agree with you. I don't think there is enough emphasis on the injury sort of list, the toll that's taken, especially combined with the poor summer transfer window that we've had. You're sort of leaving Ange Postecoglou in an impossible position this summer. The injury crisis is not new. We suffered it last season under Conte, and last season under Postecoglou, and also the season before that underneath Antonio Conte. The problem is we're not building squads to cope with it. We're trying to build maybe a bare 11, 15 sort of to a degree, and then pack it out with average players. With more and more games being introduced into football, more and more competitions. Players are moaning about, playing too many games, but FIFA just turn around and go, well, we'll give you a 25-man squad, use it. So that's what Tottenham have to get into the mindset of. There's not going to be any sort of leeway, but big up Rick and Brighton. Good to see you, my man. Hopefully you and the family are keeping well, lad. We also have Artist T in the house, Slow Jam Rod as well. Good to see all of you guys and SOF. Big up SOF. I really appreciate the call for, the other day in Sean's chat to get me on and make sure I'm on the next show with him and Johnny. Absolute legend. And big up Jay Dilla. As well. I don't know. Is that name trying to catch me out? I'm not quite so sure. A big up Woodsy Hotspur as well. Good to see you. Soren, on to you, my man. The pressure on Tottenham. The pressure is on Tottenham Hotspur and Ange Postecoglou. It's intensifying with just one win in the last 7 games across all competitions. Many Spurs fans have expressed that they, at the start of the season, that they care more about winning a trophy than securing a high league finish this season. From a fan's perspective, because internally, reports have come out that they're ready to back him. They're behind him 100%. Same in terms of the squad, even players that aren't playing, they're all fully behind him. They enjoy, his methods, his training, everything else. But from a fan's perspective, how crucial are tonight's Europa League game against Rangers and next week's cup tie against Manchester United in determining Postecoglou's future at Spurs? Because one thing Tottenham fans can't stand is being knocked out of cup competitions. And the reason why I say that, I take myself back to the Fulham game last year in the Carabao Cup when he made a lot of changes. We were on a good run back then, but fans were already starting to turn and starting to ask questions because they went out of the cup. So how important is it, to get fans back on side? Is it for him to win these 2 cup games?
Well, this is what kind of confuses me, because at the beginning of the season, after last season, and going back to the beginning of last season, it was don't care where we finish as long as we win a cup or we challenge or whatever. We're kind of still in all the cups at the moment. We're not doing great in the Premiership, but everyone's moaning that everything's wrong. So tonight, where people say it's not a must win, I kind of think opposite. I think it is a must win for the simple fact we have to keep going in these cups. If we don't do well in the cups this season, or if we're knocked out of the cup and then we don't do well tonight, and then it makes it harder, and then we're out to Man United in the League Cup, it's going to be almost impossible for him to keep his job. I really do think that. As long as we're in the cups, I think the board will stick with him as long as we don't slide too far down the table. But for me tonight, it is a must win because he has to. I mean, he's not going to get the fans back on board if we wins tonight, but we have to calm it down a little bit. And a good win tonight, it's not going to alleviate the pressure, but it does help him a little bit. It keeps us in the cup. It keeps us in that automatic qualifying. And as long as we're in a qualifying place, and if we can do well against Man United and knock them out, then things are how the fans wanted it. This is what I don't get. You know, we're doing exactly what the fans, or a lot of the fans, were asking for, but now that's not good enough neither. So
do you think the fans aren't taking into consideration the serial injury crisis compiled with the poor summer transfer window into account when it comes to Postecoglou? Because, you know, you look at Guardiola, he's struggling majorly at Man City. They're way off the levels. They look like they're not going to claw back. So what I'm trying to say is injuries have a massive impact, especially if you're not having good transfer windows to be able to alleviate that crisis or sort of, regenerate your squad every sort of season. You know, but you look at Man City, they haven't been able to spend money, and it's really starting to take its impact now, especially with injuries.
I mean, when you go through the list of who we've got out and who is injured and who's suspended and whatever, it's not as if it's squad players. It's our first team of players, and I find it quite astonishing that nobody seems to look at it and think, yeah, you know, most of our, I mean, it's same as last year. It's our back, you know, the two central defenders, again, the most pivotal point of our team basically are out. And, you know, we look at it and it's like, well, yeah, that's Levy's fault for not backing him. Well, yeah, it might be. Well, that's Angie's fault for not asking for more. Yeah, it might be. The point is, we are decimated once again with injuries. I mean, everybody goes on about all the teams have injuries, but when you actually look at this season and last season with who is out, it's phenomenal. You know, it's ridiculous. I mean, you say there, Man City, they've got one player out, and it's totally knackered their whole team. We've got 6 or 7 first team players out, and well, that's all right because it's Tottenham. We can just moan about it. But it's a fact of, you know, some of the fans that are moaning are always going to moan. It doesn't matter what happens. The other fans, you know, yeah, they're frustrated. We're all frustrated. We don't want to see our team lose. And the problem is at the moment, you know, we go from 2-0 up to losing. We go, and it's not the first time, and we just capitulate still. And yeah, you know, I get it against Chelsea, exactly the same as last season. We're doing well, and then all of a sudden we lose our main defence and things like that, and everything goes bad. But there's got to be a little bit of leeway. And the problem is some of the fans that are moaning never wanted Ange in the first place. So it doesn't matter. I mean, we could be sitting second or third and still in the competitions. There will be something to moan about. We could be sitting bottom, and yeah, you know, you understand then that the pressure of getting him out. I get that, but I just hope for once, and I know you're going to ask probably this later on, but I just hope for once the board actually just stick by him, and let's see. So I mean, look,
Well, that was going to be my follow-up question, just quickly.
Yeah.
Sorry. Do you believe
mean,
the reports that have come out that said, internally the board are ready to, back him this January and that the squad are behind him? Do you believe that? Because it's all third-party sources. No one has actually come out.
I mean, look, I don't believe any of the shit that's in the media. Everybody that gets hung up, oh, we should have signed him. Why didn't we sign him? Oh, all of a sudden we didn't want to play. It's all crap these days. Nobody really knows. Nobody's getting in the know right at the moment. And
don't say that. You said Dermot off.
No, but I mean, this is the one thing, and it's not personal against any particular person, but we all hear rumors, we all hear things. Some people have better rumors than others. Some people know people that should know things. I mean, I know one or two things about some managerial decisions that are reported in the media, and it's a load of shit. But the problem is, nobody got very much right over the summer. Nobody. We were signing this player, that player. Everybody was. This player is definitely coming. That player is definitely coming. And then none of them came. So, are the rumors true? Look, whenever you hear the players, they still back him. Whether that's because it's in that they're fighting, they don't want to get dropped or whatever. I don't know. But to me, I keep hearing that he's lost the dressing room. I don't think he has. I think the players are still behind him. I think the club are still behind him. And I think it should have happened quicker. I think we should have clicked a lot quicker than we have. But on the other side, I still think that you've got to take into the consideration the amount of injuries we've had. You've got to take into account factors that are beyond his control and say, it's not all down to him. We've seen over the last 20 odd years how managers haven't been backed or haven't had this player or haven't had that player. And, as much as I kind of defend the top a lot more than some people do, that you have to put the blame on. If his hands are tied behind his back, you can't just keep blaming the manager all the time. And this is the problem that, get rid of the manager. What does that do? It just gives everybody, we've had 18 managers in 23 years or whatever, 19 managers. Well, it's got to stop sometime. I'm not saying Ange Postecoglou is the right managers to stop it on, but it's got to start somewhere. I mean, as long as we're in the cups and as long as we're still not in relegation positions, to me, you have to back him. He has to be the manager. And if we're out of the cups and we're sliding down, pull the plug. But who are we going to get in?
Look, that's the thing as well. I'm not convinced with some of the names on the board. You're bringing Southgate, you're going back to a Conte, Jose sort of esque. You're bringing Graham Potter. Is he any really much more experienced than Ange Postecoglou?
The thing with Potter, I would be happy to see Potter, but the fans are not going to. He's not a big name. The fans are not going to accept.
Do you know what with Graham Potter, right? Don't get me wrong. I know you've done an all right job with Brighton, but the truth is he went to Chelsea. It didn't work out. Is he any more experienced than Ange Postecoglou? I don't think so, quite personally. I think, I'm just going to be honest, I think because he's English, I think, he gets a lot more reputation than what he actually deserves. I don't think you're making an upgrade from Ange Postecoglou, to be quite frank. And if people's problem are that Postecoglou ain't cut out for this level, then I don't think Potter should be a name banded about, to be quite frank. Postecoglou finished higher than what Potter did in his first season in the Premier League.
I think the thing with Potter,
when it comes to Graham Potter.
Your mic went again there, Dave.
So when it comes to Graham Potter, for me, I just don't want to hear a name.
Maybe third time's the charm, fourth time. No, fuck. That sucks. I think he was making a good point there. I agree that actually Graham Potter, to be honest, I maybe you have some sympathies towards him, which is understandable, Soren, but I don't think Graham Potter is actually what we really need. And to be honest, the issue we have right now is with finishing. If you remember, his Brighton team also really struggled with finishing. And then the moment that De Zerbi came in, all of a sudden that wasn't really an issue for them any longer. So I'd say that maybe Potter would probably experience very similar issues with the lack of finishing, lack of clinical edge. And to be honest, I kind of felt like there were plenty of periods where his team actually didn't pick up many points, but he kind of got away with it because it was Brighton. At the end of the day, no one really is going to expect that much from them. And whereas at Spurs, you are going to be under a microscope, like he was at Chelsea. And I wonder if he'd be able to handle it again.
Yeah, no,
Sorry, but
I
you
think
guys were having a back and forth, and now I'm kind of crashing in on it. Sorry.
no, I think Potter, had he come in instead of Postecoglou, then I'd have been quite okay with it. I mean, he's not the first choice, but I could have seen why we got him. I think if he came in now, it would be the wrong choice. I mean, look, I've held no qualms about saying who my managerial preference is, and that's Nagelsmann, because I think he's the manager that could come in, could change the fortunes, and is quite an adept manager at systems. He's not a one-trick pony. He's done it a few times now, and I just think his way of managing is a little bit of Poch, he's a little bit of Mourinho, he's a little bit of Conte even. And with Potter, I think he would have been
Sounds
a
like the
good
perfect manager.
Oh yeah, I mean, look, I'm not saying he would succeed, but I think he would have done a good job for us. With Potter, I think he would have been a good person to bring in to rebuild us. The thing is, when he went to Chelsea, he had a team full of superstars that weren't clicking for anybody. I mean, Poch struggled, so let's not say that it was all down to Potter. But anyway, Potter's beside the point. But
do you know what? I just feel whatever manager you bring in now is going to struggle, and you're not going to get him off to a
Yeah.
good start with the injury crisis. I just think, look, for me, I'm happy to keep Postecoglou. When you look at the performances and some of the big games that we have won and the manner that we won it in, I think it's too good and too exciting to throw away. When you beat the big teams like that, it's absolutely exhilarating. And when we're in cup games, we've always struggled, in the latter stages by beating one of these big teams. If we can bring that intensity to a cup semi-final or cup final and I think it will actually get us over the line. I think you'll shell shock a lot of these teams later on in them competitions if you could do that. And for me, like I said, the things that have gone wrong, I don't blame Postecoglou. The injury crisis. We only brought in Dom Solanke in the summer to be able to try and kick this project on properly. It's not enough players to really kick the project on. When it comes to the injuries, outside of that, because we didn't do the transfer business, who do you want them to turn to? Don't get me wrong. I do think if I'm him, I'm turning to the kids and I'm placing my faith in them a little bit more. He doesn't seem to want to do that. Maybe he's trying to prove a point to the board that you got to help me in January.
I mean, look, sorry, Jack, I don't know if you wanted to come in first. Sorry if I interrupt.
No, just say what you're about to say, Dermot.
Sorry, for me,
Yeah, and Dave was finishing his point anyway.
For me, I think you got to stick by Postecoglou, give him back in January. I think the biggest problem at Tottenham Hotspur is I think it's been, 14 proper managers in 20 or 23 years, plus that's not including interims. You take interims into it. We don't stick with a project. That's why we never really failed to kick on. The only one that we stuck by was Pochettino through hard times. And look at the rewards we got out of that. Hiring and firing managers and chopping and changing directions, is a huge problem. When you look at the money spent, we do spend, a lot of money in terms of on transfers. But when you're chopping and changing directions, you're looking to make that money spread across 8-9 players every single summer. What you need to do is back a project so you do get to a point where you're like, right, we've got 120 million. Right, let's go out and get this guy for 80 million, or let's go out and get this guy for another 60 million. Bam, there you are, 140 million, stretch the budget a little bit. Let's kick on, but we have to show patience with the manager to get to that point. That's our biggest problem at Tottenham, is the constant chopping and changes of managers, which leads to the high turnover of squads, which leads to the high amount of money that we squander. At some point, there has to be patience from in the club and from within the fan base to let a manager figure it out and get a proper squad to bring us forward. Dermot, just quickly on to you, my man, because after Rick and Rio wants to get back to talking about team selections and stuff, which
I think Dermo.
I'm here. I was just waiting for.
I'm not sure actually what Dave wanted to ask, but did you have anything that you wanted to add personally? And to Rick and Rio, if he is still listening, on his question of, I think just sort of getting to the sort of, we have to talk about, some of the issues or some of the noise or some of the context around Ange. And as you can tell, or maybe if you've been listening, all of us are Ange in, from what I can tell, and all of us are very much in support of Ange. It's just we have to talk about the various things that are going on around, the pressure that comes with, this amount of losses, and also just the difficulty that Spurs are under right now. Personally, I'm going to continue to stick with Ange, and I'm going to continue to let him see through this difficult period. But I think that is part of any sort of match preview, is also talking about the context around the club and talking about the context around the team, not always just team selection and stuff like that. If that were the case, then this would be a 20-minute conversation. But
look, you can help for injuries. Injuries as part of the game, so you can help, and we can help for how many players were guy out injured at the moment. I think Lang's not getting the stick he deserves. I think it's a bit like Kitchen. He got a big miss as well. You can't blame everything on Ange. You can't blame really everything on the players. I think everyone has to take responsibilities, like life. You fuck up, excuse my language, you hold your hands up, you hold that, and you take responsibility. It doesn't matter what you do. If you're a footballer, a manager, or in your own personal life, at work or at home or anything, you take responsibility for your actions. And I think the players have to take responsibility for some of their mistakes. I think Ange has to take responsibility for some of his in-game management, which hasn't been good, to be fair. Some of the substitutions, you're watching the game, and I'm not a manager, or any of us are managers, but we can see clearly that changes have to be made. And Ange sees it a bit differently, but we do have a lot of injuries at the moment. We are missing a lot of players, and Lang has to take responsibility, and the recruitment team, for not giving Ange the players and the squad he needed to fight on all 4 competitions. It's not like we're just playing one game a week, and then we've got a League Cup game and an FA Cup game. We've got European games as well. And it was the same thing with Hitchen. He got away with it scot-free. It was all Poch's fault. It was all Mourinho's fault. It was all Levy's fault. But what about blaming the recruitment team that was supposed to be there to back that manager? Paratici came in. Under Conte, we got Kulu and Bentancur. Okay, under Poch's first season, we got the players Vicario, Porro, Udogi. But I think Basuma came under Conte as well, I think. We've got Papa Sarr. We've got James Madison. We've got, all the players we've got. And under the last summer window, where our outgoings were absolutely fantastic, our incomings was absolutely woeful. And that responsibility fully squares with the sporting director and his recruiting team. You cannot keep blaming a manager all the time. It is not Ange Postecoglou. It's not his fault. You can blame Levy, for not providing the funds, but he spent over 400 million, but they haven't spent it wisely, because the man that's spending the money, it's only given Ange Postecoglou, there's your list of players, but you can't have the top 3. You can only have the last one. And Ange is sitting there thinking, well, I need players for a bigger squad. I'm going to have to take him. It's like, look, you can have... what's his name? The Real Madrid winger. Is it
Junior?
The fella from
Vinicius Junior?
No, Kubu. Kubu, the Real Madrid. I think he plays for Atletico Madrid now. That he plays in Spain.
You're talking about Real Sociedad and Kubo.
Yeah, Kubo. We were after him, and Andrew was given the list. But you can't have him. But you can have Timo Werner for another year. It's just scratch your head. I mean, Soren is right when he says about in the nose. I was given a list of players that Tottenham were supposed to go after. But there's no point me saying, we're going after this player, that player, because I knew we weren't getting them. The only time I went live for stuff when I knew we were getting them. Gallagher, Neto. If we had Paratici, I would bet my bottom dollar Gallagher would be in this team. Neto would be in this team. All them quality players would have been in this team, because Paratici would have got out and got the job done.
Well, On Paratici, in hindsight now, people are saying free Paratici, losing Paratici was a big loss. And this is my point about us as fans being too reactionary. It wasn't so long ago. As soon as news broke about Paratici, people were calling for this guy to get out of the football club. People were calling him a con, a crook, everything else. Me and Jack were one of the only two that sat there on a channel and basically sat there and said, look, this guy's recruitment is good. He's able to get Daniel Levy to listen to him. He's given a good goal between bringing in youngsters that you can sell on for profit and bringing in players for the here and now. Now that he's sort of he's more sitting with CAA base at games and stuff like that now, sort of away from it all. But, now that's Johan Lang. We've gone down one route and one route only. He doesn't know how to get the experienced players in. I think the summer transfer window went completely wrong. But, that's my whole point about being too reactionary. Everybody wanted him out of the club, and no one wanted to sort of bring any balance to the situation, look at it and go, is what he's doing for Tottenham any good? No one really wanted to sit there and do it with that objective lens. Everyone was just chasing this guy out of the club, calling him a crook, this, that, and the other. And now we're sitting there going, but you know what? We want him back. Everyone called Jose Mourinho outdated, etc., etc. He went on and won a Europa Conference League that Spurs fans were dying to win. While we got embarrassed and knocked out at the group stages. Not entirely our fault, but, we created this situation anyway. We should have been qualified before we were not even allowed to play that last game. People chased Conte out of the club, blamed him for absolutely everything. Now, look, granted, he sort of done his own press conference, but that was a build-up of, the media, the fans telling him he's useless, this, that, and the other. Now look at the job that he's going on to do with Napoli and stuff like that. Look at the jobs that he's done at clubs beforehand. We can't keep, all this reactionary stuff and blaming everybody at this football club, especially in terms of managers. And then when they go in hindsight, oh, well, maybe we should bring them back. Can't keep doing that. At some point when they're here, you've got to show them the patience to be able to work, to be able to get things right. If they've got a CV behind them and they've got a proven track record, instead of hounding the winners out of this football club, they're the guys we should be fighting to actually protect. Hounded Jose Mourinho or Conte out of this football club. People were more than happy just to let Harry Kane go without a fight. Romero thing has come out recently. When people are over the contract, people straight away get him out of the football club if he doesn't want to be here. We are letting all the winners walk away from here, and we're protecting losers at this football club. Start protecting the winners. Start demanding that they're kept, and we might actually see some change and some progress as well. But Dermot, just quickly, because I do want to get back to Adrian Tria, because it's absolutely great to have this guy back around again. But Dermot, question that I did have for you, my man, is if the internal reports are true that the board and the players and everybody internally are behind Ange Postecoglou, then would you encourage the Spurs fan base to say, look, this is what we've been fighting for, everybody to be on the one page? We should then get behind it as well and back it up even more.
Look, I'm not here to tell anyone how to support the club. I'm not here to tell anyone who to support, which manager to support. Look, and all this back in Ange, I've asked my questions to the person I use, and he told me he hasn't heard anything about Ange being back. So I think Soren sort of hit the nail on the head. Nobody's come out with concrete information that Ange has been backed. The Levy's backed him. Levy hasn't come out. The club haven't come out and say we're fully behind this manager. So, but the fans do have to. I think the board are led by the fans. The fans have to believe in Ange, have to believe in what he's doing, and I think we have to show the way. We as fans have to show the way. We have to lead the board in the right. This is the right man. We cannot go sacking another manager. We've had 4 managers since Poch last a year and a half. Conte ball, Dave. I know you said about Conte. It was so boring. We went to that AC Milan game, and I think we were so dejected when we left that game. So managers sometimes do dig themselves into a hole, but the fans, the board are led by the fans, and we have to get behind Ange Postecoglou. Sorry if that's not really answering your question.
No. Look, I completely understand what you're saying. I just think if internally and if someone does come out and say it and express it, I then think, if that's the case, then fans need to get behind it and back it, and let's see where it can go and get everybody on the same page. But of course, we'll see if things get tested. That'll test the wordiness of them reports. So we'll wait and see. Adrian Chia says, big up, lads. Been busy for a few months. I haven't been able to join you guys much on this car crash of a season thus far, but quad is still on. Come on, you Spurs. Jack, anything you want to say to Adrian? I know you two like to flirt a lot.
Thanks, Adrian, man. Good to have you back with us. And the quad is always on until it literally is not, and then the treble is still on and then the double is on, and then, it's always forever. It's always permanent, and then it moves on into the next season, new clean slate. But good to have you back with us. Hopefully life is treating you okay. Hopefully nothing too crazy is going on, just busy, and you just have better things going on than to have to worry about maybe Tottenham Hotspur on a regular basis. But big up to you, Adrian, and good to have you back with us. And we're going to need our script writer back, Dave. Remember, Adrian used to be our guy to give us the scripts during the game. And he also seems to have a bit of a superstition problem where he, anytime that he seems to come into the chat, he thinks he's influencing the game. So maybe he also is hiding away for that reason. But Adrian, don't blame yourself. You can blame the players. You can blame Daniel Levy, but don't blame yourself. You're definitely not the problem, man.
Well, look, it's probably done you a favor, to be honest, to be away from all the ups and downs and the roller coaster. It tests every single one of us. You guys viewing, us guys sitting here on the panel, it's testing the emotions of every single one of us, Adrian. But look, hopefully, life has been going well for you. Hopefully you've been prospering in life. That's why you've taken a break, my man. And look, great to have you back. What did you go for the third kit this season? Let me know. I know you were a big member of the Basuma Third Kit Society, which we will be talking about just a little bit in the show, actually, because his comments have irked a lot of Tottenham fans. But big up Adrian Chia, my man. Great to see you back and really appreciate the support, lad. Absolute legend. Guys, we're going to keep cracking on with the talking points as we always do. Please keep getting your comments in. Welcome to all of those, Rooty Toot and people like that who have tuned in as we've gone along. Keep getting your comments in as you always do. Your talking points, we'll keep bringing them up, and smash that like button. And if you want to throw support, feel free to do that. It's all optional. It's however you want to engage with us. There's multiple options there is basically what I'm telling you guys. But does anybody have anything they want to add before we sort of move this conversation into the lineup and what we're expecting tonight on what we were previously speaking about?
No, I thought you were making some really good points, Dave. I'm sorry. You were getting cut off by your mic, but good. Sounds like it's doing a little bit better.
Yeah, well, for how long, it was doing well and then it started playing up again. But look, we're going to keep going with it. But look, appreciate it. Thank you for listening, everybody. Hopefully you have enjoyed what I have to say. But Jack, moving on then, given the ongoing injury crisis, Postecoglou faced limited squad options once again due to additional injury setbacks in Sunday's loss to Chelsea. With pressure mounting on him, the question arises, should Postecoglou prioritise a strong lineup tonight to secure immediate results, a bit like what he tried to do against Chelsea, despite the risk of further injuries? Or is it time for Postecoglou to rotate his squad, to preserve player fitness and avoid sort of exasperating the injury crisis due to fatigue?
Tough one, really tough one, because the Southampton game you also have to win, but you would think that Southampton are an easier opponent. That being said, Spurs seem to find it more difficult against the quote unquote easier opponents, the teams that are lower down the league. It gives me a headache, Dave. The other thing too is that the Galatasaray game, I think it's similar to that, right? Where it's a game away from home. It's a really tough atmosphere. It will be a team that will likely, you would think the Rangers team would be pretty motivated for this game. They get to play a Premier League team. They probably want to get some sort of good result before they go into the derby with Celtic. At least that's how I would think it would work. So for me, I just find, this team to be probably in need of a result here. But he did go with Lancashire against Galatasaray, and he trusted those players to do the job then. I think you do go with pretty much your stronger lineup. I really liked your predicted lineup, by the way, Dave. I liked your midfield of, obviously we might go into more of the particulars, so I don't need to go through every single one of your decisions. But I actually thought you went with a version of a pretty strong lineup, actually, that would be definitely, at least with what we have available to us, should be able to get the job done, you would think, but yeah, Dave, I think he does have to go strong and then has to probably go strong again against Southampton. It's just kind of that period where you're pretty much just going to be asking a lot of the players. They're all at their limits. They're all being pushed to, their energy maximum. They're all pretty much at their absolute, at their absolute limits. So I think you just have to keep asking more of them and dig deep for each other. And kind of what it's all about sometimes. It's not always that you find yourself in this situation, but it's also where you learn a lot about your team and you learn a lot about your players, which ones can power through these tough periods. So I just think you have to do it, even though it sucks. You just have to keep playing your best team.
Do you know what? 100%. I sort of agree with you. Look, in terms of backline, right, we're absolutely sort of limited in terms of what we can do there. In terms of the midfield, you've got two players that can play tonight that are suspended for the game against Southampton in Bentancur and Bissouma. So for me, it just makes sense to use them tonight and hold back someone like Papa Massar. So you're not really running him into the ground and hold him back for the weekend. And then up front, you know, the return of Will Lancashire, it depends whether people want to go with either or. But I do think with the pressure mounting on Tottenham, I think you've got to try and go strong and just try and get that victory over the line. Because, you know, I think against Coventry, didn't we start off, you know, with a weak sort of lineup? We paid the price. We went 1-0 down. And then we ended up coming back once we brought stronger players off the bench. For me tonight, I think you take a different approach. I think you go stronger and then look to get some of your younger players off the bench. But obviously, that's in an ideal world. Whether we take our chances or not is a different story. But moving into the defence and what we can sort of expect tonight. Well, Jack, we'll stick with you and we'll go to Soren on the next one. Reports suggest that Dragusin and Gray will partner at centre-back tonight. How confident are you in this partnership, given their lack of experience together? And do you think that they can cope with the pressure?
Not that confident in it, but it's pretty much the best that we can do. And yeah, you just have to make do with that. You just have to come to terms with that, right? I mean, the other option, which I'm not sure if you have this on the script, Dave, so I apologize if I'm jumping ahead. The other option technically would be an Alfie Dorrington. You and I spoke about that on the members match preview. There are a lot of reasons why you could, but why you wouldn't kind of do that in this game. He's only coming back from injury, really serious injury as well, like a surgery type of injury, which, you know, would probably require him to really get, you know, some minutes in before he would even feel confident enough for a game like this. And technically he hasn't played at this sort of level, at this sort of speed, you know, maybe at this point, you know, yet. So you would like to ease him into it, whereas Archie Gray has. And I think he's actually done okay at center back. You know, he's a guy that just can get a job done. You know, he's a utility style player where he's very intelligent, can play different roles, different positions. My only worry with him is just I do feel like he doesn't have that sort of physicality or that athleticism maybe always to sort of get back, get behind, you know, track runners like Van de Ven can, like Romero can, like a lot of our other defenders. He doesn't really have that, you know, in him. He's not really as quick, but he tries to make up for it with, I think, decent positioning every now and again. I don't think he's getting his beat as often as he did. Like the Karabag game for me was like the game he really struggled in, actually, more than plenty of the other games. Maybe Galatasaray a bit, but not too much. I think other players were struggling more. So it's the best we can do, Dave. And I think Archie Gray is getting better every game. And I think Dragusin is actually getting better every game. I agree with what you said in the predicted lineup, though. It's not like he's had a performance yet where you've gone like, wow, you know, Dragusin. But at the same time, he's also quietly gotten his job done, I think, the past, you know, few days. He's a bit like Forster, a bit like Davies, where he has not been the problem. It's actually been other players that have been the problem in recent games. So, you know, well, let's just hope we can continue to get these good performances from them, you know, while they last.
Do you know what? I think, look, I think Archie Gray and Radu Dragusin is a bit of a strange one for me. I sort of struggle to understand it. I know you sort of say maybe it's his only option, but I do think there is a different option there. And we'll get onto it now. And we'll also get on to a bit about Radu Dragusin. I sort of agree with you there. But, Soren, let me ask you, my man. You know, Alfie Dorrington, he travels tonight with the squad to Glasgow, right? But Postecoglou seems very hesitant to start him alongside Radu Dragusin. Dorrington is a natural centre-back, by the way. Plays left-sided centre-back for the under-21. He's very composed on the ball. It's his best attribute. And physically, he's well able to handle, you know, at academy level as well. And also, Ange Postecoglou, he cannot use Dorrington's age as an excuse. You know, when you look at Archie Gray, he's only 18. He's a CDM, so it's nothing to do with age. And when you look at Bournemouth, they played a 19-year-old centre-back against us. And ironically enough, he scored the winner, the goal that ended up winning the game. So why do you think Postecoglou is reluctant to give Alfie Dorrington his chance?
The only thing I can think is it's what he's seen in training. I mean, for me tonight, I would be playing Dorrington and I would play Archie Gray in midfield today. I don't see it happening. I think Gray will start alongside Dragusin because I just think it's the safe option for Ange. I think he really does trust Archie Gray, and yeah, I mean, to me, I go along with a lot of people's thoughts that if he is good enough, then we play Dorrington. If he's not good enough, then yeah, Archie Gray's the only option. That's the unfortunate side to it. You know, we all sit here and we all play Football Manager with the team, and it's like, well, yeah, put this player in instead of that player, and doesn't matter who we play because somebody's not going to be happy. So I just think it's time that Ange starts taking these risks, because what's he got to lose now? You know, the fan base is against him anyway. So if Dorrington is good enough, and that's the question, if he's good enough, and if Ange feels he's ready, then there's no reason not to play him tonight. But I don't think he will. I think it will be great, and I think it will be Dragerson. But you kind of look at it and think, well, if we do take the risk and play Dorrington, and we do maybe put Gray in midfield, it gives us that chance to rest another player in midfield. But he just doesn't seem to be happy to do that. So, but then again, you know, he's played the youngsters up front, hasn't he? So, you know, he's played Mikey Moore, he's given Lancashire a couple of chances. So maybe he will. Maybe he'll surprise us, because we have had a few surprises this season, but I just don't think he will.
Do you know what? I'm just trying to wrap my head around it, because, you know, it can't be the age, like I said, right? Archie Gray is 18, Alfie Dorrington 19. You know, Alfie Dorrington's a natural centre-back playing on the left side of the centre-back, which is what you need to fit in beside Radu tonight. He's competent on the ball, which helps Ange ball. You know, he needs players that are competent on the ball. So for me, either comes down to the fact that Tottenham paid a price tag for Archie Gray, and that's why he's putting him in at centre-back over Alfie Dorrington, or the fact that maybe Archie Gray has the experience from playing in the Championship over Alfie Dorrington. Now, look, it could come a case that come January, I think there's rumours today that the clubs are maybe thinking about, there's a clause in the Ashley Phillips deal that they're thinking about calling him back in January, and it could be a case that Alfie Dorrington then goes straight out on loan. Now, up to a certain point this season, I think there has to be recognition that Alfie Dorrington was coming back from a hamstring surgery. He pulled it twice last season. So up to a certain point, he couldn't use him. But now that we're down to the bare bones, for me, I'm trying to understand why he's putting a central midfielder in at centre-back over someone like Alfie Dorrington, who is natural there. And at some point, you know, you've got a good crop of academy kids. You've got to try and turn to them. Bournemouth had no problem turning to one the other night. Why are we very hesitant to do so in this sort of situation? That is one thing that irks me about this situation. Now, of course, it comes down to trust. But it just makes more sense for me in terms of what would fit Ange ball to play him. Now, of course, Ange sees him day in, day out. He sees him in training. There's probably a reason behind it. But from the outset looking in, it just doesn't look right to me. It's so surely, if you're in his position, if any one of us are in his position, you turn around and say, look, you take the best centre-back from the academy and you give him his opportunity. And I would like to see him given his opportunity before we go and invest a lot of more money in terms of, you know, in January and stuff like that. If this guy can come in and do a job and hold the fort until Van and Romero get back, you know, then you can use that money to really reinvest into other areas and stuff like that. So for me, I would like to see him given a chance at some stage tonight, because Postecoglou name-checked him last season a couple of times in press conferences, and he loaned out Ashley Phillips and kept Alfie Dorrington around last season. So I don't understand why quite he hasn't got his opportunity, but I would throw him in there tonight if things don't go right with Archie Gray. Now, look, I must caveat, I am not having a dig at Archie Gray. I think he's an absolute fantastic player. For an 18-year-old, I don't think I've seen him lose the ball once for Tottenham Hotspur. You know, I go back to that cross that he put in the Europa League, you know, really shows the talent of the guy. And I do think, you know, many people question, why is he being played out of position? I actually think it shows the faith and the trust that Postecoglou has in him. And I actually think it's a reflection of how good Archie Gray is that he feels like he can put him in different positions and he knows what he's going to get out of him. I think it's a good thing in terms of Archie Gray, but at some point, he's going to want to play at CDM. The club have come out and said, you know, our report said they see his future at CDM. So I don't understand when there's an opportunity there, bring in the likes of Alfie Dorrington, push Gray, or even push Gray out to one of the fullback positions, like give Power on a Dozier rest, which we're going to go on to, by the way. They played the most minutes in the squad, and a lot of people are having their problems with them, so we're going to have a discussion about that. But for me, it just does not make sense, and I do not understand it. Anything else they want to add to that before we quickly talk about Radu Dragosin?
I agree with everything you've said about Dorrington. Like, it makes most sense to play him. He's probably a far better center back than Archie Gray is. But I'm only thinking that Ange hasn't necessarily been very gung-ho with giving the younger players opportunities. Like, probably something that some people might even say he's just not as liberal about it, as maybe other managers are. He just doesn't do it willy-nilly. He seems to pick and choose when the right opportunity comes or when he seems to think it's the right opportunity. It doesn't always seem to align with what the fans might think, like yourself, or even like what Rayman was saying in the comments there. But the other thing I'd quickly add, Dave, because it felt like, maybe you want to touch on the first thing I said, but the other thing I was going to add is Dorrington did have such a tough injury and surgery as well, that I wonder if that's part of it, is like, can he actually, does he have the strength in his legs? Does he have the confidence in his legs? Does he have the confidence in himself to be able to play in a game like this at this sort of speed, cold night, that sort of thing? Like, after coming back from already a major injury, like, I wonder if it's just timing still, like Bentancur, it takes a while, right, to come back from some of his major injuries. We've seen a lot of people, they take a bit of time in order to really get those kind of, I don't know, feeling back, of being at their best. So I'm wondering if Dorrington might not be there yet. Is my only other thing.
Yeah, I mean, I was just going to say that's what I was saying. If he's not seeing it in training, then he's not going to start the lad. But the argument is it's a vicious circle. If he'll need game time to get his strength back and his confidence back, tonight might be that time to start that player. And put a strong midfield in there and go from there. But playing a natural centre back is a better option than playing somebody who's a defensive midfielder in a centre back role. But we all know that he trusts Archie Gray. I mean, I love that kid. I think he's a brilliant player, and I think he's got a big future. And maybe just keeping playing him is the way that we bring him on. But when we've got a natural centre back there, yes, he's a kid. You've got to give him a chance sometime.
Yeah. No, 100%. And look, for me, I think if you are going to give him that opportunity, I think it's right that you get the right midfield in front of him to be able to protect him properly and make a very strong midfield out there. And maybe that's why he's not putting him in there. Maybe he feels like having Archie Gray there, he can have maybe not as strong of a midfield out there. I'm not quite so sure. But for me, I just don't think it makes sense. And, you can't use that age argument anymore because he's older than Archie Gray. So it's got to be something. I'll be interested to hear about it in the press conference. Maybe someone might ask him someday. But we'll take a few comments here and we will keep kicking on. Tyler says, does Basuma deserve to start? Though I don't know if we'd play him, but if Ange does, hopefully he's more motivated to play well. No, he doesn't deserve to start today, but he's suspended on the weekend. And we're going to get into Basuma in just 2 minutes. But at the end of the day, needs must tonight, in my opinion. If he's not available for the weekend, you got to use him tonight and preserve a player for the weekend. Tyler, big up.
Good to see Artist T as well. See him popping in.
Yeah, the one thing I would say with this is I would play him tonight because we saw like last, when he cocked up with the gas and that, he came back and he had a brilliant game. Maybe tonight he'll come back and have a brilliant game, just to try and get back on the fans' side. So to me, I probably would start him tonight.
Well, Basuma, I think he's got to play tonight. Like I said, I think you got to preserve his minutes. RST says maybe he hasn't fully recovered from his injury. Look, maybe so. Maybe he's just getting back up to full fitness. But, I think it's good to ask the question nonetheless. But also, it's something that Jack said there about, that he hasn't been gung-ho about using youngsters. I think it's a slight bit of a misconception. I think when you look at it, right, he's used Bergvall, he's used Gray, he's used Mikey Moore, and he's used Will Lancashire. I think it comes down to how many were people actually expecting him to use. I think when you look on it, 4 is a hell of a lot of youngsters to be able to be thrown in there and sort of looking to use. Maybe you're looking at other areas and saying, like Dorrington, could he be using them? Could he be using more? Fine. I'll take that sort of argument. But, I do think Ange is using youngsters. He's used 4 of them so far this season of real sort of teenage years. And I think that sort of gets overlooked to a certain degree as well. And I'm not saying that's you, Jack. I've heard many people say this about many sort of platforms. And I just personally, I don't agree with it. I think, how many are you expecting him to throw in? I think, if he hasn't used 6 or 7 of them, fair enough. I can understand why you're disappointed. But I do think, using 4 is a lot, especially for a top 6 club.
I think if you wanted to be nitpicky, I think you could. You look at maybe Jamie Donnelly from last season. I think there were maybe some opportunities here and there where you could probably have given him a few more minutes, especially in my opinion, Dave, because the attacking line, I think, continues to underperform, right? There's so many guys that I feel like don't really take their chances, kind of are just left on, for 80 minutes, 90 minutes when they probably shouldn't be. I know we pick on Brennan Johnson a lot, but there have been times when I felt like maybe a Jamie Donnelly or a Mikey Moore, plenty of people could have been maybe given an opportunity for 10, 15 minutes and, taken off of Johnson, taken off of Timo Werner. There were times this season where maybe Timo Werner shouldn't have been played ahead of Mikey Moore. It should have been Mikey Moore instead of Timo Werner. So if you wanted to be nitpicky, I think you could. It's not really a stick that I choose to be Ange Postecoglou with. I think there are other things that probably you could have more serious conversations about with what he might be getting right or wrong. But yeah, it is actually one of those commonly held beliefs with some people in the fan base that he could be more, like I said, more liberal about it. He could try to be a bit more, confident in giving them these opportunities. But if you wanted to be nitpicky, I think you could use Mikey Moore as an example of Timo Werner, probably Jamie Donnelly from last season to a degree as well.
No, absolutely. Absolute fair point there. Adrian Chia says, coming to 2025 and we still have to rely on Ben Davies. We have not progressed as a club, and that's a hard pill to swallow. Can't keep blaming managers for this. Do you know what? I absolutely agree with you in terms of, the fact that we're still relying on some of these players heavily, really shows that we haven't really kicked on the squad in the way that we really needed to, or the way we really should have. But saying that, Ben Davies has probably been one of our best players this season in terms of out of possession, his defensive work, without him there, especially that Coventry game. I think he got back and cleared one off the line, didn't he? We ended up going on winning that game. I think in possession, I think he's been absolutely brilliant, to be quite frank. And it does look like the club are going to take the option to extend his contract by a further year as well. But, does that mean it's right? Not necessarily. I think I do question, where was he the last 3-4 years? Where was that level of performance? Was he in the comfort zone? The fact that he's playing for his career sort of remotivates a person, right? But do you want to get sucked into giving him a contract and him going downhill again? I certainly don't. For me, I think Ben Davies should bow out as a hero, be remembered for his last season, not sign that new contract and go elsewhere. And I would like to see us move on. But if the club ain't going to spend that money, then I think, take him, sign him on another deal for another season and see what he could do. But one thing you're dead right about is we can't keep blaming this manager or the manager for absolutely everything at Tottenham Hotspur. I'm sick of it, Adrian Chi. You can't keep blaming the guy in the dugout. And in fact, I go as far as saying, I think many people are doing Levy's bidding without actually realising it. I think when it comes to managing a dugout, you keep calling for their head every time. You're giving Levy the cheap option out every single time because it's cheaper to sack a manager and pay that one-off sort of fee rather than it is actually backing a manager and admitting your mistakes and forcing them to go out and spend money in the transfer window to be able to back them, to be able to push this project on. So for me, I think if you really want Daniel Levy to do the expensive thing, get behind the manager and call for him to back him properly rather than make him, because realistically, all the points everyone makes about the tactics aren't as great as everyone makes out. He needs to be doing better with this, that, and the other. Realistically, if we had the proper squad and backed them in the first place, a lot of these questions, even under other managers, a lot of these questions wouldn't even be around them. We'd just be sitting here winning most games. So we really want them to do take the Dira route out. You got to back the manager, in my opinion. But big up Adrian Chia. Really appreciate the support, my man. And then we've got to take this from SOF, and then we'll keep kicking on. He says, drop points against Leicester, Crystal Palace, Ipswich, Fulham, injury-ridden Arsenal at home. That was with the squad fit. Now we want to moan about injuries being the reason. Look, fully understand what you're saying. I think, though, when you look at it, you look at the likes of Crystal Palace, Ipswich, Fulham, Leicester, You know, we struggle against teams that sit back. But then you go, do we have the right components to break them down? You look out wide. You've got Son and Solanke. Their players are Son and Johnson. Johnson's an inside forward that does one kick a game, and then and comes out a hero. Can't do anything else outside of that. Although he did put in a good cross for Solanke against Chelsea, and then you've got Son who likes to cut in, onto his right foot. So you're not really against low block teams. You've got to be putting the ball in the box, ask the questions, putting it in over the top of them, in around them, take shots. We don't have the right components to be able to break them down, in my opinion. And also, when you look at the first 5 games, we had the likes of Romero, Doji, and stuff like that coming back from injury, and stuff like that, trying to get up to match speed. Then we got it going. And then, from that Coventry game onwards, we're getting it going. Then all of a sudden, the injury crisis come in and derail us. So let me know what you think on that, SOF. And then he also says, if we are currently 5th in the table and had to deal with injuries, it would be a different story. Now we're 10th and have to go through 3 to 6 weeks without 3 first-team centre-backs. 100%. Look, definitely not ideal by any stretch of the imagination, SOF. Not ideal. But, I'd argue with you. You bring in another manager right now. He still has to deal with the same injury crisis. Before you know it, he could come in 5-6 games on the bounce, lose every single one of them. You think fans aren't going to turn around and call for him to be sacked? Come on now, I'm not naive. Of course they will. So I think just changing manager right now isn't even giving the new guy the best chance to get off to a good start. Wilson 94, big up boys, been freezing here in Scotland over the last couple of days. Don't want to see any gloves, thermos, like fast. Keep those Union Bears quiet. Come on, you Spurs. Look, for me, it's all about, perception tonight. I was saying that to Jack yesterday on the members preview. If I see players going out there with gloves, long sleeves over the gloves, and their shoulders hunched up like that, I already know we're not up for it. The cold has already got to us and stuff like that. I think it's an optics thing. I think we should walk out there, T-shirts only, shorts only, go all out and just say to Rangers, we're here to fight. We turn up, we're embracing the whole situation. Just from an optics point of view, just go out there in T-shirts tonight because, believe it or not, you run around enough, you don't actually feel the cold. You warm up very, very quickly. You only start feeling the cold, needing your gloves and sharking up like that if you're not prepared to move for the football or go and chase it. So you don't actually need them in this type of weather. Some people say harsh. That's just me. But guys, before we move into the fullbacks and the midfield, I am going to take this moment to thank our partnership for the last couple of months, and that is NordVPN, the best VPN on the internet. You tune in for the best Spurs YouTube channel, where we're also bringing you the best VPN on the internet to match that. And not only the best, but also the fastest. No lagging. It's one of the things they're very, very proud about. Nobody likes lagging. We all look at Tottenham. We're constantly lagging in games and stuff like that. Nobody likes it. So NordVPN has already come up with an antidote for that with the no lagging, no buffering. Absolutely crucial feature. Also, it's up to 10 devices. You got other VPNs out there. They're all sitting there, one for each device. They want to take as much money out your pocket as possible. NordVPN said we are going to change the game, just like Ant Postecoglou is trying to do at Tottenham Hotspur, reinvent the wheel. And they're going to give it to you for 10 devices. So that's you, your family, even your extended family. If you've got grandparents or aunties, uncles that live with you, they can all get on it. And the best thing about it is, over here in the UK and Ireland, 3 p.m. blackouts exist. But did you know, fun fact, across the rest of the world, they actually don't. They get to watch every single Premier League game to do with Tottenham Hotspur. You want to be able to access that streaming platforms. You use your NordVPN, put yourself in that location, buy your platform, and away you go. So I can't do any more to sell it to you. I'm just trying to tell you the benefits of having something like NordVPN, especially if you're a guy that travels or a girl that travels. We don't discriminate. It's 2024. People that travel, for work, stuff like that. If you're just sitting in a hotel room, lounging around, and you're like, I'm bored, there's nothing to do, don't understand the language on the telly, I can't watch it. Simply get your laptop out, get the NordVPN on, and tune in to your subscriptions that you have at home, and you can watch your Coronation Street while having a steak. Anything you want, basically, it's all capable with NordVPN. And some people say, Dave, what about people robbing details? Do not worry about that. They have got that covered. Unlike our backline, they do like protection, NordVPN. So they protect all of your details. It is very, very secure. So, Jack, I think they just need to get onto the description underneath the video or the chat up there. Get over to nordvpn.com. I think it's 30-day guarantee or your money back. Get over there. Get the best package for you. Anything else you want to add to that, Jacko?
Brilliant. Well, John, Dave, I'm actually thinking of the aunties and the grandparents that, need to sign in order to be able to watch a Spurs game, halfway across the world. So please, everybody, do exactly what Dave did and said at the top of the chat. Use the code FLATCAP, get a 2-year plan, get 4 extra months free, 30-day money back guarantee as well in case you don't like it. So you don't have to be too worried. But everybody, excellent job by Dave, and go back into some of the Spurs combos here.
Right. Well, let's keep it moving. I do want to quickly move into the fullbacks, and then I want to move into the centre midfielders and finish off on what striker we want to see tonight. But in terms of fullback, Power and Edozie have played the first and second most minutes in the squad this season. Not made up. That's factual. Now, a lot of people are starting to get on their cases. I'm starting to see a lot more people question if Edozie's actually good enough for Tottenham Hotspur Premier League level. Same to Pedro Porro to a degree. You have many people saying if Real Madrid come in with the right offer, no problem, more than willing to let him go. And look, they've come under a lot of scrutiny for their performances and form. And when you look at it, it is an area of the pitch. When you go back since the start of the season, I've done that. I looked at all the goals we've conceded. Teams are purposely targeting our fullbacks in one way or another, and they're getting joy out of it. Now, I want to know, guys, is the criticism of their... We'll start with you, Sir, and bring you in, my man. Is the criticism justified? Do you also share the same sort of questions around are they good enough, what Postecoglou is asking them to do? Or do you think it's likes of fatigue, considering they've played the first and second most minutes in the squad this season, kicking in, which is sort of contributing to, the level of effort that they can put into their performances? Or is it tactically, it's just not working for them due to the tactics?
You've got to look at it two ways. They probably are knackered, but, and I've said this last season, I've said it this season, when you play Brennan Johnson and Sonny in front of those left back and right backs, they're not getting the protection and help they needed. If you go back to last season, we had Kulu on the wing. He comes back and defends a lot more than Brennan Johnson does. So if you've got Brennan Johnson in front of Porro, there is very little defensive abilities on that side. We know Porro and Edozie are far better going forward than they are defending. There's no question about that, and that's what Ange's wanting. He's wanting his wing backs, or whatever you want to call them these days, to go forward, and that's the sacrifice we make. A lot of people go on and say, Kulu's not effective on the right wing. The thing is, he's effective in different ways. He helps out with the defending, and if you haven't got that natural coming and going with, if your wing back's going to bomb forward, you need somebody to come back and help out, and you don't have that with Brennan Johnson, and you don't have it with Sonny neither as much. But are they good enough? That's the question. Porro is fantastic at going forward. He puts in a fantastic cross. He runs his heart out, and to me, he's one of the few players that you see playing with a smile on his face all the time. He seems to love the club. He seems to love doing what he does. But he needs help, same as all our defenders need that help. And, we've seen it in the past when, if Gray's played at left back and everybody slates him off, oh, look, they're targeting him. No, they're targeting whoever's playing at them positions. Porro has been pretty poor in a lot of games this season. Do we give up on him? No. We don't, because we know what he can do. To me, one of the big failures of the summer transfer window was not getting strength in those positions. We've got Jed Spence, doesn't want to play him. Whatever reason, he doesn't want to play him. We've got Reguilon. We kind of know why he's not been played, but I don't understand. If you're going to put him in the squads, bring them on. When we played Spence again, was it Coventry? He came on and he had a good game. So I don't understand. I know he can't play in Europe, but I don't understand us not using him in the Premiership if we're going to play Porro and Edozie in these cup games and Europe, because we've got nobody else. So I just think it's scandalous. And this is where you do question Ange sometimes on his team selection, when we know these players are getting tired And he himself said it's about rotation. Well, if it's about rotation, start rotating these bloody players.
I mean, I don't know. Like, it feels like one of the biggest things that we just really shot ourselves in the foot with was just not getting any sort of left-sided help of any kind, this summer window. It's pushed Udogie to his absolute limits. He already was recovering from an injury, if I recall, anyways, right? Going into this season. And we didn't decide to buy a fullback, to play on that side. Jet Spence, I agree, has not been used, in my opinion, enough. I think it's one of the things you could criticize Ange for. Like, he should be used more in Premier League games, like to relieve one of the fullbacks. You look at Liverpool, like Soren, like oftentimes with Jurgen Klopp's team, I feel like plenty of times you would see Trent be subbed off, and have someone else come on, like who's the guy that they have, for the young talent, or with Andy Robertson, you would see Simicas come on, like give him a little relief for the last 10, 20 minutes. And I just don't see that happen enough, in my opinion.
Haven't we just given Solanke a new contract as well? Not Solanke, Jed Spence a new contract. What's the point in giving him a new contract, showing that he's wanted by the club, and then not actually playing him? I mean, unless something has happened yet again, then. But then why is he on the bench? If you're going to put him on the bench, at least play him. Let him show what he can do, because I just don't understand the situation with Jed Spence. That, we got it with Conte because he didn't want him because he wasn't his signing. He's come in, Ange has given him a chance, or we're assuming Ange has given him a chance. They've given him a new contract, and then it's like, well, we'll give you a minute or two here, and that's it. I just don't get it with Jed Spence. There is either something very fundamentally wrong with his attitude, which then I don't understand why he's on the bench. And if he's not got something wrong with his attitude, or he's just not understanding what Ange wants from him, how is he going to understand or get on if he's not given game time? It just baffles me. It really does.
In terms of the new contract, I think, there has to be an understanding now in football that new contracts aren't all necessarily down to form and being deserved and being rewarded. We have a history at Tottenham Hotspur giving players a new contract to re-keep their sort of sell-on value. And I think that's more the case with Jed Spence. I was listening to David Moyes and Sam Allardyce recently, and they were saying, like, everyone thinks it's the managers that are going up to the likes of the board owners and saying, yeah, he deserves a new contract. It's not the case. All of that is taken out their hands now. It's the club that are doing it, protect their resale value and stuff like that. So in terms of the contract, it doesn't necessarily reflect that, Ange Postecoglou is delighted to have him around and that he's going to give him a chance. It doesn't necessarily reflect that whatsoever. I think the club sort of seen that he had a good preseason, seen that his contract was sort of coming to an end or it was running down, tie him down to a new contract to re-keep the sell-on value, hoping that someone knee-jerks comes in and gives us basically what we ended up paying for him. Because before pre-season, we were looking to take a huge loss on him, at least a 50% loss on him in terms of his resale value. So when it comes to the contract, I think, people have to understand it's the club decision, not necessarily Ange Postecoglou's decision.
You say that, but he's not going to get sold till the summer probably. So extending it last summer isn't going to make a difference. You could have extended it at any point. Start playing him a little bit, give him some confidence. So it's all right saying if you don't understand, don't comment from the thing, but you don't need to necessarily give a player that extended 1 year when he's only a year into his contract anyway, or 2 years, at the beginning of the season, knowing you're not going to sell him. If he goes in January, fair enough. It's a different matter, but he's not going to go in January. So there is no need to extend it last year to sell him next year. You could have done that at any point. If he doesn't if he doesn't want to sign it, that's a different matter. But you start playing him, because nobody's going to give you the money you want if he's not even playing, because nobody knows what he can do. So
again, it comes back to the summer then, Ange Postecoglou used Emerson, no excuses not to use him, sold him, never replaced him. You're asking him to use a guy that, he let go out on loan in the first season. I think, again, it's more of a club issue than a Postecoglou issue. I think, don't get me wrong, he's kept them around the squad, he's kept them integrated and stuff like that. But at the end of the day, if he doesn't trust him, he doesn't trust him.
If he doesn't trust him, then I get that. Don't put him in the squad. But just because he's in the squad and you've extended his contract by a year doesn't mean you're going to get your money that you paid for him. Who's going to pay for a player that's sat on a bench for 2 years and not played a minute?
I know that. I'm just saying that's what the club does.
And I get that, but I mean, the argument is, oh well, we've extended his contract to boost his money. It doesn't boost his money if he's not playing. The only way you boost his money is by giving him minutes on the pitch, showing what he can do, and then the extended contract maybe makes more sense. But what's the point in giving a player an extended contract to boost his money when he doesn't even play? Nobody's going to want him. You're not going to get any more money than we were offered in the summer by extending his contract.
At the end of the day, though, we've just been so hamstrung by the fact that we didn't sign that extra fullback to help relieve Destiny Udogie to give him proper rest. And if it is true that, let's say, Ange Postecoglou isn't that keen on Jet Spence for whatever reason, right or wrong, it's just a huge detriment to just the squad and to this season, because it's just pushed everybody to their limits. It's pushed Porro to his limits, and it's pushed Destiny to his limits. And then we're just going to continue to suffer from it. It's also why we have to see Archie Gray, be played out of position, as a fullback and everything. So it's just one of the big issues over this summer that probably on paper isn't really that sexy, when you look at it, but it actually has really hurt us and is really probably one of the real reasons why we get such inconsistent defensive performances, even, is because we don't have the rotational options and very key positions for Ange that would have really helped him out this season. And especially in a season when we have more games, like a season where we have far more competitions that we should be concerned about. And you're right, Dave, like he used Emerson actually more than he even used Spence, really, for whatever reason that is. But like we are even missing having someone like an Emerson who would come on to relieve Pedro Porro, would come on to relieve Destiny Udogie for whatever reason Ange thinks was that Emerson was doing right. But you know what I mean? It's just, it's one of the biggest things that's actually hindered us this season.
Also, what hasn't helped Spence out or gone in his favour? He wasn't registered in Europa League, which is where his opportunities would have been down to earn the trust. Now, so look, people go, that's a wrong decision. And I threw my toys out the pram at the time. I said, I can't believe they made that decision. But with the injuries we've covered, it was either Ben Davies or Fraser Forrester that had to miss out if it were to include Jet Spence. Now, looking back on hindsight, you'd probably go, the club got it right, because without them, we'd be absolutely screwed right now. So, and also Jet Spence suffered, he was out for a while with an injury as well, which no one really talks about as well. So he's only really getting back to full fitness now as well. So, when the opportunities have been there to rest Pedro Porro on that, we just haven't been able to use Jet Spence for one reason or another. So, it's a bit of a sticky situation. Eugene S says, great show as always, gentlemen. Come on, you Spurs. Really appreciate support, Eugene, my man. Absolute legend. Really appreciate it. And then John Lee just quickly says, Dave, I disagree. If club decision makes value Spence, why not Ange play Spence more the club, see how he does? Look, I'm just going off what managers at clubs are saying, the way they're operating now. I think the general perception out there is that it's still the old Ferguson Wenger era where they dictate everything that goes on at the football club. It's not the case. And when you look at Tottenham Hotspur, we don't, when you look at the guy in the dugout, they're not managers, they're called head coaches. And the reason why they're called head coaches is because they're just there to train the players, put them out and try and get them to win games of football. Everything else outside of that is taken out of their decision. It's taken out of their hands. And it's gone to all these other guys, financial experts, etc., etc. Personally, I think football's going the wrong way in that regard. But it is a known thing, John, that clubs are handing players contracts to try and protect some sell-on value, because the more they run down their contracts, the more bargaining chips you're giving other clubs. And when you're talking about multi-million-pound investments, just not into the transfer, not just only into the transfer fee, the wages and the signing-on fee, but you're talking about the food you're pumping into them, all the equipment they're using, etc., etc. They want their money back, and this is what clubs are doing, whether I agree with it or not, whether I like it or not. That's what clubs are doing. So, look, I understand you can disagree. I'm just putting out information out there that I've heard from managers that have managed that Premier League level in recent times. But Jack, on to you, my man. I believe these are the starting lineups.
Yes, starting lineups, Dave. Fraser Forster in goals. And sorry, I can check for a better image for people in just a moment. But we have Fraser Forster in goals, Dragishin at center back. We have, it's kind of a bit out of order, but we have probably Archie Gray playing alongside him. Pedro Porro's in the lineup as well. Destiny Udogie, Timo Werner, Brennan Johnson, Bentancur, Sonny, and then unless Madison as well, and Basuma. Dave was spot on with his predicted lineup with the midfield.
Wow.
Looks like Solanke is being dropped for this one. I don't see Solanke's name in there. Might be then Sonny playing through the middle, and Werner and Johnson down the sides. Not sure how that's
He's
going to work
gone for
out for us in
paper.
this game. A little nervous about
I
that.
think he's made a bit of a rod off his own back personally, because, you know, when you look at Will Lancashire and Solanke as your forward options to come off the bench, both play striker, and not one, you're not going to sacrifice. None of them
No.
can play a wing, so sort of you're putting yourself in a bit of a pickle straight away.
I agree.
Basically, so the way it stands, it's Fraser Forster in goals, Dragosin and Gray at centre back. You've got Doji and Pedro Porro at full back. In the midfield, you've got Bentancur, Basuma, and James Maddison, which is the midfield I went with in my particular lineup, and the back line. And in the forward line, you've got Werner off the left, Johnson off the right, and Son through the middle. So that is your starting lineup. Drew, let's get your initial thoughts on the starting lineup, and then I want to ask you quickly about Yves Basuma, my man. Oh, sorry. You just need to dye your hair, lad.
I'm not surprised at the team selection. I know a lot of people don't want to see Sonny up front, but he's gone for speed. He's gone for the break by the look of it, which maybe, I mean, it probably doesn't, but maybe tells us he's going to sit back a little bit more, break, do a break and hopefully protect that back four a little bit. Probably doesn't. It probably just means totally opposite to what we kind of think. I suppose the only argument you can say with Solanke on the bench rather than starting is, has he still got that little niggle? And the amount of running that lad does, then he probably just needs a bit of a rest. So that team on paper should be good enough to go to Rangers and win. Yeah. So that's the argument. I think let's hope Maddison is on form tonight. Bentancur plays well. Bissouma. So you kind of look at it and think with Bissouma and Bentancur in there that he's gone quite defensive with his midfield as well. So double pivot. Yeah.
I think it'd be a double pivot to try and help protect Dragosin and Gray, to be quite frank.
Yeah, well, that's what I'm kind of thinking. You've got that sort of more defensive side to them two players and just give Maddison a free roll, hopefully. Johnson and Werner, speed. Johnson hopefully scores one or two. Sonny puts a couple in the back of the net. All good.
No, 100%. I think when I look at that midfield, I'm glad he's gone with a strong possible midfield to try and protect that back line. I was sort of weighing it up. Maddison or Bergvall, do you save Maddison for the weekend? But when Maddison didn't start against Chelsea, I think it was confirmation that he was going to start, today. Forward line, I'm a bit surprised about. I am worried. Rangers, I think, will play counter-attack, and I don't think they're going to be naive enough to think that they can go toe-to-toe with us. I think they will play counter-attack, and when I look at it, I think you could incur the same problems that we have in other games. Where's that vocal point in the box, to be able to put balls in that you need to do to be able to break down low-block teams? I'm not quite so sure. Maybe, like you said, the plan is to try and invite them on us. First 10 minutes, let them use the crowd or let them think they're using the crowd, invite them on us, hit them on the break nice and quickly. That allows us to sit in then. Be interesting to see what way it's going. But I don't want to get onto Basuma in just a moment. But Jack, the bench, my man, let's read it. Who's on it?
Yes. We have Austin on the bench. We have Whiteman, Dorrington does make the bench, Hardy, Sarr, Bergvall, Kulusevski, Williams, Barnett, Olusesi, Callum Olusesi, very talented, by the way, everybody. And then Will Lancashire, and then Dominic Solanke. Like you said, Dave, the two quote-unquote designated number 9s left on the bench, and you wouldn't probably throw them both on at the same time unless Ange Postecoglou were to engage in his best Sam Allardyce tactics, from the last 10 minutes or so.
Well, when you look at it, we don't exactly have a lot of experience or a lot of, game changers off the bench. You're bringing on young lads and more hoping that they can settle into the environment and change the game. So it goes back to what we were saying earlier on, Soren and Jack, that we need to really go at them in the first half. We need to take our chances, get goals on the board so that when players do start fatiguing a bit later on in the game, you can maybe bring on them youngsters. You can maybe trust in bringing off a Porro or a Doji, getting someone like, Dorrington in there. You can maybe trust taking off Maddison, preserving for the weekend, get someone like Olusesi in there if needs be, or Bergvall in there. And then same with Son and Johnson, don't care about Werner. He can play the full 90 minutes, but get them off, get a Kulusevski or a Lancashire or Solanke on. I think Solanke, it will all depend whether we need him to come on and help save the game or not. I think if we're 3 or 4-0 up, I think it will be Will Lancashire. But from Postecoglou, I can understand the Will Lancashire call because he did put him out there in Istanbul away from home and he did get sent off and, it didn't help the situation. So I can understand Lancashire maybe starting on the bench tonight. because, you know, that is a lesson he has to learn. Even if games aren't going your way, you can't get frustrated, lash out, and get sent off. You got to stay tuned in. Harsh lesson to learn, I know, but it's a lesson he has to learn at this sort of level. But Soren and Jack, let's go on to Yves Bissouma just quickly before we go around and get your score predictions, because he did say something that sort of pissed off Spurs fans. So, you know, with Spurs winning 2-1 against Chelsea, Bissouma crazily gave away possession and compounded that mistake by wiping out Moises Caicedo in the box, and then conceded a penalty in the second half, which ultimately changed the course of the game, costing us all 3 points. It gave Chelsea full momentum. Following the match, Bissouma took to social media to apologise, saying, "I'm so sad for the mistake. It's burning me because we lost the game today. Because of this, I feel sorry for my teammates, staff, and fans. I take all the responsibility for that one. I learned from this, and this is the killer. It's time now to show the real me. Thanks for all the support." Now, his statement, "It's time now to show the real me," has left some fans questioning why is he only making this comment now, or the recognition of it, after being at the club for over 2.5 years. Considering his past performances and, you know, the promise he made earlier in the season to improve after being caught with inhaling laughing gas, by the way, you know, this is the second one this season. Does Bissouma's recent apology feel more like an excuse, or is it a genuine effort to change? Because for me, I think it's just a pure excuse. I think, you know, the efforts for change should have been there when he was caught inhaling the laughing gas. You know, he let Postecoglou down, who came and put his arm around him, you know, and tried to get him going when Conte sort of didn't have any faith in him. You know, he got sent off, I think, against Luton last season, when we really we're in the middle of an injury crisis, when we need to keep all our players. He was then out for quite some time, then headed off to AFCON and stuff like that. So with Bissouma, is it just one of them, again, another player coming out making excuses? He'll be back to his same old ways, or do you believe him?
I believe that he believes that he could be back to his best,
don't.
but I don't think he will. I don't think he will. Like, you know what I mean, Dave? I think, like I've said to you, I think Bissouma is actually a really nice guy. I think he's probably a very likable person. I think a lot of us would probably find it very easy to get along with him. But he does seem like someone that, I don't know, is just maybe always a happy-go-lucky kind of person, just maybe isn't always, you know, let's say, serious when you need him to be, isn't going to be, let's say, always a constant professional in, you know, every regard of the game. Probably just really happy to be even playing football at this sort of level, to be honest, you know, like considering where he's come from and everything like that. And he's also exceptionally good, and he's very talented, and he's a very good player, but he doesn't seem to have that sort of elite mentality and elite focus that the best of the best do have. And I think that's what's been holding him back. And I'm not sure if he's going to really ever be able to retain that, because at this point, when you're 28 years old, 29, getting on to 29 years old, and you're saying things like that, it is kind of hard to believe you, you know, to be honest, because you kind of should be pretty much in the prime of your career, or pretty much well established as to what sort of player you already are. And I think Bissouma has pretty much shown us that he's a guy that's just going to put in a top elite level performance one game, and then the next game will go completely missing. And then also sometimes in the same game, we'll do something that will make your jaw drop in a good way, but then also make your jaw drop in a bad way in the same time, you know, something right afterwards. So for me, Dave, I'm not going to take it seriously. I believe he believes it, but it's not like it's going to really do
I'll tell
anything.
you why. I'll tell you why I don't even think he believes it, Jack. I think we do. I think we've got a culture at Tottenham, especially within players, and I think it's inherent. You know, it's been passed on from squad to squad that, look, winning doesn't really mean the be all and end all at Tottenham. You sort of go to Tottenham, you play well, you pick up big wages, and you get your move to a bigger club. If not, it's okay. You can stay around there, be on wages that you really shouldn't be on for the lack of contribution. It's nowhere near good enough. I actually think it's a wider problem within the squad. I don't think he's the only one. I think James Maddison is probably another one. That's why you see him so up and down and stuff like that. I'm waiting for him to come out with an apology in the next 6 months going, this is the reasons why I haven't been at it. I'm going to do better, etc. I'm absolutely fed up with it. You know, when things have gone wrong in the past, oh, we're going to do better. You know, they never do. This season, we want to win trophies. Okay, then on the pitch, stop capitulating, stop collapsing, show a bit of fucking leadership, show a bit of cojones. That's what winners do. If you want to win trophies, that's what you have to do. You know, they constantly make excuses, blaming the managers, throwing them under the bus. You know, Conte, he was too strategic. He done too much tactics, too much working on the nitty-gritties of the game. They didn't like it. They found it boring. Now we're hearing it's too intense under Ange Postecoglou. Under Jose Mourinho, he didn't instruct them to go running. I mean, if you're a professional footballer, that should just be in your daily sort of routine anyway, a bit of running and stuff like that, or your gym work outside just to maintain your fitness and be at the top of your game. You know, I'm absolutely fed up with it. When you go to Basuma's track record, he came to this club with a lot of excitement, a lot of noise around him, looking to be that transformative midfielder. And reality is, the guy really could be. He could have had a Moussa Dembele effect on this Tottenham squad that his ability allows him to be. But he just doesn't want to. He's come here. He's took the big money. You know, under Conte said it. He struggles with the tactical side. I can't trust him. Has he done any better to sort of get to grips with any manager's tactics since? No. Then Postecoglou comes in, puts his arm around him. He lets him down last season massively in terms of the sending off, some of his performances and stuff like that. Then he doubles down coming into this season when you're like, okay, Basuma, you need a big fucking season now. 2 seasons you've been MIA. Well, how does he come into the season? On laughing gas, and then he comes in now he's sitting there going, I made a big mistake against Chelsea. I mean, I'm not being funny, Jack and Soren. I've been banging on about the guy running into trouble with the football. All he has to do is listen to me. It's not rocket science. It's not revelation. Not only me. Everyone says it. You take too much out of the ball. For some reason, instead of running forward at the weekend, he decided to run sideways into 2 Chelsea players for one unknown reason. Not only that, then he goes, do you know what? The best thing to do is the ball is in the box. So I'm just going to take out Moises Caicedo. Why not? I'm sorry. I'm absolutely fed up with it. It's the laissez-faire attitude, and I don't think he's the only one. I just wish someone in his camp would shake him to the core and say, Basuma, you're 27, 28 years of age now. Spurs fans are crying out for a leader. Postecoglou's crying out for a leader. You can be that guy. Why are you not being that guy? Second of all, you've about 4 or 5 years left at the top. What do you want? What do you want your name to be remembered for in terms of football when you leave? What do you want your legacy to be? Start asking these questions. Start putting it to them. But I think, unfortunately, like many footballers, they've got a lot of yes people around them that enjoy the lifestyle, don't want to be cut off, and they're afraid to sort of tell them the home truths. And I think it's a huge problem with footballers nowadays because, he's not the only one. We had Dembele, huge talent. He's the sort of same thing. Couldn't care less. I'm absolutely fed up with it. And it's inherent at Tottenham Hotspur as well. So another one, huge talent, same thing. It really doesn't matter at Tottenham Hotspur whether they win or lose. And quite frankly, I'm probably a part of the problem. But we give these players too much adulation without really earning it and stuff like that. And it's from now on, it's nowhere near good enough. I'm sick of the lip service because he knows that in years gone by, he's going to come out, he's going to say sorry. Every fan's going to lap it up, and we're going to believe him. I'm sorry, I'm sick of it, Jack. How many times have I said, stop with the lip service, show me with actions on the football pitch, and that's where I'm at with Basuma. I think if he doesn't come back on fucking fire, put in 6 months of world-class performances, and I will take nothing less, he can go in the summer. Because that is a huge, as talent as he is, his attitude is a huge problem, and we'll seep through to others. Sorry, Soren, I know it took a long time there, but I just needed to get it off my chest. I feel better now. So what's your thoughts on the situation?
Do you know what pisses me off the most about Basuma? We've had this a couple of times now, saying, it's about time you saw the best. Yeah, it bloody is about time we saw the best. But you shouldn't need to fuck up to then come and show us your best. Exactly. He should be professional enough to be showing us his best every single bloody match. And look, we saw how good Basuma could be in the first 10 games last season. And since then, he's probably had 2, maybe 3 performances where he's been good. And that's not good enough for a professional footballer at this level. And we know he's got talent, but he doesn't want to be consistent. And the problem is that word consistent isn't Tottenham thing at the moment. So coming out now and showing us what Basuma can be, for me, is too late. I think he's a great footballer when he's on form. I think he's as good as, as what we would want, but it's just not enough. It's just not enough. And I'm not one for saying players should be sold and things like that, but for me, if there's a decent offer comes in, then we get rid and we upgrade. Simple as that, because I think he's had enough chances, and if he isn't doing it 2.5, 3 years into his contract, then he never is going to do it.
It's just, I don't even understand the point of coming out, with that end part. I'm going to show you the real me now. What does he expect? Us to rock up there, form a brass band, and fucking march him into the training complex? Jack on the trumpet, Soren on the drums, you know what I mean? And Dave on the triangle. Seriously, honestly. If you've got that recognition, just do it personally, inside, internally. I don't care about the lip service anymore. I think there's a culture now where they think they just come out, throw out these catchphrases, these sound bites, and we lap it up. I'm fed up with it. Just show me on the football pitch. We don't care anymore. We're beaten down by players, by ownerships, by managements. We're Spurs fans that are used to being beaten. There's only so many false promises we can keep hearing. We don't want to hear it anymore. And I just wish people inside the club, in general, the whole club, would just understand we don't want to hear it anymore. We just want to see actions. I'm sick of all these things coming out. I just want to see fucking actions. I want to see a group of people at the club that are on the one page, that are committed to doing everything to try and win and become successful and win trophies. I mean, I'm sorry. What was the point of getting into the game in the first place if you don't want to try and be the best? Regardless whether you were young and had talent or not, everyone loved football and dreamt of being the best. That was your ambition going into the game. And now it just looks like that fucking, people are forgetting that with the amount of money in the game, with money comes comfort zones and stuff like that. And I think a lot of them are forgetting that. And I just wish everyone at the club just pulled together now and, right, how do we get out of this? How do we go and win games of football? How do we become successful? Because if not, what's the point of being in football? And if you're not at Tottenham for that anymore, I don't want to hear it. Just fuck off. We can't keep letting Tottenham be a place where managers come and take high wages, players come and take high wages, board members get paid exorbitant fucking, bonuses. But yet us fans, all we get is exorbitant prices to pay and support our football club without any success coming to it. And I'm absolutely fed up with it. And Basuma, that apology and that, I'm going to come good now, 2.5 years. I mean, thank you fucking very much. 2.5 years in. Thank you, Basuma. I'm absolutely fed up with it. The culture at Tottenham has to change. And hopefully tonight is the starting point. And I will know whether he means it by his performance within the first 10 minutes. I'm sorry. If you're a player that has a point to prove, your first 2-3 touches are correct and your passes are sharp. If they're off by any stretch of imagination, he doesn't give a shit. But that's where I'm at with it.
Really good comments from yourself, Dave, and really good comments I can tell from people in the chat. Even Lazy 8 saying, Dave, I see you as more of a tuba player, not the triangle. King Hoddle saying, Dave, I see you as more of an orchestra constructor. And Sam DaCosta saying, we've got a culture of apologizing for poor performances and thinking that's acceptable. Yep. And we're just going to kiss ass and then move on. I think he's absolutely spot on there.
This is what I like, Sam. It takes me like 3 minutes to get a point out, and it takes him like 3 sentences. So, fair play.
Eugene's been in the chat. Did we get to this earlier? I'm not
sure.
Yeah,
I got to it earlier. Big up Eugene, absolute legend. Now he's flying in the chat there with his comments. Good to see him. But guys, anything anybody else wants to add on that before we get your score predictions and end off?
Yeah, I was going to say with Basuma, I mean, for me, I agree with everything you said there, that, he's not good enough. And he's the sort of player that is playing well below what he should be playing at. But for me, people are questioning whether he should start tonight. For me, he does, because, tonight we want to see that reaction. And then when he comes off the pitch, if he's done a good performance and he comes off the pitch, Ange shouldn't go to him, yeah, well done. He should be saying, right, anything less than that now, you're out the door, because that's the standard I want to see every single match from now on, because this is how good you can be. If you don't play to this level, you're out the bloody door, kid, because we've covered you on a couple of times. We've given you the chances. He got a 1-match suspension for his laughing gas. He came back and he had a pretty good game. Tonight, we expect a good game. Anything less from now on, get rid, because he's shown he can't be consistent, and we need consistency. So to me, he has to man up now. Everybody's going on about when we were criticizing players for not being good enough and they needed to man up. No, Basuma needs to man up now. He's not a kid. There's no excuses. He's a seasoned pro. Show us what you can do. Otherwise, get out the club.
And the thing is, look, I know some people may look and go, oh, that's harsh, you got support. But look, you're talking to one of the person that's probably made the most excuses for Basuma, actually, in me, I hold my hands up. I've given him every sort of excuse, every reason, every chance to sort of prove to me that, he can bring that talent that he possesses on a consistent basis. But he just does not. And if a player doesn't want to do that, unfortunately, you got to get him gone. You can't keep holding on to players that want to turn up when they want to. If he can't handle it and he doesn't want to perform week in, week out, then fuck off out of the football club. When you're trying to catch the likes of Man City's or Liverpool's or Arsenal's, when they're buying players that are at it every single week and consistent, the only way of really challenging them is by doing the same. Not by turning up when you feel like it, not turning up like James Madison case because it's your birthday and you want to go and celebrate it without it being in the headlines, because he hasn't performed since. I'm absolutely fed up with it. I'm sick of it. So hopefully things change tonight, and the sooner the better. Hopefully it is tonight. Soren, I want to say a massive thank you to you, my man. Not only are you flat out in work, it's Christmas time, you're giving up family time and all and stuff to do to be able to spend time with us, but you also had an accident and you said, fuck A&E, I'm going there, I'm doing the pre-match build-up. So I really appreciate the dedication tonight, my man. Hopefully it's not so long before we get you on the next one, because I really enjoy having you on, and I know everybody else out there enjoys.
Great job, Soren.
Thank you very much for tonight. What's your score prediction?
Oh, score prediction. I'm going to do the typical score prediction that I seem to say every week, 3-1 Tottenham. And I think it's going to be a scrappy game. And I think it's going to be a game where we probably don't look very good, but I think we'll score on the break, and I think 3-1. And I think they'll probably score first.
Oh, I hope not. I don't think many Spurs fans could take that going 1-0 down tonight. But look, I think the lineup's good enough to be able to go and try and get a 3-1 tonight. That's for sure. So, Soren, thank you very much for your dedication. Everybody give Soren a round of applause if you want to see him back here. Well, he's going to be back here regardless whether you do or not, but it's just polite to give him the round of applause and say thank you. Jack, score prediction, my man.
I'm going to go... I said 3-1 to you, I think. I'm going to go 3-1, and that's a very happy clapper prediction, but we need to get a win today, and it'd be nice if it could be something of that type of margin, get 3 goals in the back of the net somehow. But excellent job, Soren. Excellent job, Dave, as well, pushing through some technical difficulties, but he had the composure of Zinedine Zidane while it was happening. He never lost any composure. He never lost any any minutes there. He came back in every time, never got too frustrated. So I'd say commend Dave, everybody. So well done to him. Well done.
I'll be tonight when I lose all composure and I lose my rag and fuck it out the window.
With the watch long ends,
can't take it any longer.
Yeah.
No, look, for me tonight, look, Rangers, they're capable of it. Don't get me wrong. It's going to be a tough game. I do worry about the lack of a physical presence up front. We've seen how that's worked out before. Hasn't worked out in our favor. However, they're no great shakes. At some point, you got to pull a result out. Your look's got to change at some point. Why not tonight? I'm going to go. I can't even remember what I've done in the pre-match build-up with Jack for the members, but you know what? I like the sound of 3-1. That's what I'm going to stick my finger on tonight. So I'm going to go with 3-1 Tottenham. But nonetheless, it's the Battle of Britain. It's a big game tonight, guys. We'll see you back here in about 15, 20 minutes' time. We'll get the watch-along kicked off, and hopefully we can get the victory, because at the end of the day, it's what we're all fucking here for, baby. Come on, you Spurs.
Come on,
in the Mighty Yarns we trust. We never stop. Let's go. Come on.
See everybody later. See everybody. Come on, you Spurs.